Chapter 821 Evolution of God 11, 4. 821 Evolution of God 11, 4. Time mark plus time fruit plus moon explosion plus life fire seed. It could only say that it was so delicious that it exploded. Even if a totem came, it wouldn't win. It was better than a real divine skill. As long as it was banned, it was the strongest. If it wasn't banned, then Ginseng Baby would panic. Mi the sword spirit, Kai Tong, danced in the air. At the moment, it was also ridiculously strong. After the undead revival reached perfect level, it didn't need the bone sword to control the 3 overlord undead puppets at all. Therefore, Kai Tong had been coddling up to Shiyu recently, hoping that the next transcendent points could be given to its undead revival skill. In that case, it could control the totem level puppet. Even at the monarch level, it could even control totem undead puppets. It would be invincible. Now, it didn't matter who he added points to, because for the next 2 months, be it Buggy, Kai Tong, or Ling, their will levels had been trained to the level of Overlord Will. Although there were still some differences in the time to add points, it was no longer big. Ning. Susu snorted proudly, its jelly-like blue body swaying. It hoped that 11 would evolve stronger and not disappoint the sea-cleansing spirit it had worked hard to create. At the moment, every pet had found comfort for themselves. For example, baby Ginseng felt that if skills weren't banned, it was the strongest, while Susu felt that if the battlefield was the ocean, it was the strongest. In any case, they didn't believe that 11 could change this situation after breaking through and evolving. All right. Shiyu smiled. He had long prepared the 10 meteorite fragments and 2 aurora magnetic gold from Senior Ji Mengzhu. He looked at 11, who nodded heavily and immediately returned to normal. It was 3 to 4 meters tall in the form of the 9-Li battle beast. It was wearing silver and black armor, revealing blue eyes. It was very domineering. However, this might be the last time it maintained this form. Shiyu and the others had no idea how it would evolve next. He just didn't know if it could recover with the time fruit later. Woo! Eat! 11 nodded. It had been stifled for the past few days. In order to become a perfect overlord, it had been suppressing its breakthrough power for several days. If it didn't break through soon, it didn't know if Shiyu would be alright, but it itself would definitely explode. However, this process also further honed 11's control over its body. At this moment, under everyone's gaze, 11 couldn't wait to pick up an aurora magnetic gold and stuff it into its mouth. Legendary resource, aurora magnetic gold. Shiyu had a total of 2 pieces, all applied from Dong Huang. This was a legendary strengthening resource that could strengthen the physique. Although 11 and the others trained with legendary resources every day, they didn't completely devour it. Otherwise, the huge power of legendary resources would have long made them break through. After all, legendary resources even had a chance of allowing overlords to break through to totems, let alone monarchs to overlords. Now, 11's gaze was excited. It could finally taste legendary resources. However, this resource was originally meant to be carried around. It was used to subtly train the physique. Swallowing it directly was undoubtedly very risky. However, Ling had already undergone strict calculations. With 11's current physique, it was definitely not a problem to completely devour the aurora magnetic gold. Before evolution, it would break through first. 11, charge! Woo! Yi! Mi! Ning! Under the cheers of the entire team, 11, who had swallowed the first aurora magnetic gold, suddenly had a serious and frozen expression. The suppressed power in his body finally couldn't be suppressed. It slowly raised its head and roared at the sky. Roar! In the next moment, a shocking energy erupted from its body. Boom 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 boom. As 11 roared, the ground around it exploded. A terrifying white lightning also shot into the sky from its body. The lightning power contained in the aurora magnetic gold. This terrifying power attacked 11's body crazily. In an instant, a white lightning storm lingered with 11 as the center. The huge power directly forced Xiyu and the others back. At this moment, 11 no longer suppressed its strength. Several perfect super-racial skills led to its growth. At the same time, under the pressure of the lightning tempering, the will of the Overlord erupted. 5 perfect proficiency super-racial skills, Overlord will, and legendary resources. The 3 breakthrough powers combined into one, making 11's aura climb steadily, instantly changing the sky and earth. In the sky, white lightning surged. The boundless land had already turned into a white lightning pool. This was not an ordinary transformation. Even after 11 left, this lightning environment would continue for a long time. This was the power of an Overlord. It already had the ability to change the natural environment. For example, if 11 went to erupt and fight, it could directly turn that place into a thunder fire snow mountain. As it broke through, multiple powers modified 11's body. Its life level directly reached another realm. Its physique began to be reborn. With the enhancement of many max-level Thunder Element skills and the perfect level Lightning Rod, 11's physique instantly acquired extreme affinity with lightning. At this moment, 11 suddenly had a feeling amidst the white lightning. Even if it didn't use the energy in his body or use any skill crystals, it could casually wave his hand and cause the lightning to fall. Chapter 822, 822 Evolution of God 11, 5. 822 Evolution of God 11, 5. This power was so strong. Roar! In the white lightning storm, 11 opened its blue eyes. Devouring legendary resources to strengthen the physique was very painful, but for 11, who had experienced countless painful training daily and had the will of an Overlord, it was not a problem. In a short moment, its aura began to increase from the original 10 million energy points. What will happen? At this moment, in the distance, Shiyu's face was pale. He had already sensed the instability of the beast-taming space. The shaky space seemed to be about to collapse at any time. He looked at 11 in the white lightning with a burning gaze. 20 million. 40 million. 60 million. 70 million. 75 million. 78 million. 79.99 million. Just as he broke through, 11's energy level increased extremely quickly. The violent increase made Buggy, Baby Ginseng, and the others swallow their saliva crazily. Soon, 11's energy level broke through to 80 million. It was twice the minimum energy standard of ordinary Overlord level pets. This energy value was very terrifying. After all, when the Gem Cat was at the Overlord level, it only had more than 50 million energy points. The famous top-notch Overlord of the East Sea, the sky-penetrating whale, had fought for its entire life and had less than 90 million energy points. The number one heir of demigod factions like the Dark Knight Forest and the Dragon Empire only had about 90 million energy points. These Overlords undoubtedly only had this energy value after breaking through and undergoing a long cultivation. As for 11, it had just broken through when its energy level suddenly increased to 80 million. In the end, it gradually stabilized at 80.11 million. This energy value undoubtedly shocked Buggy and the others. After all, this was only someone who had just broken through to Overlord. It had yet to devour the meteorite fragment and the second legendary resource to evolve. 80,110,000. Pet name, 11. Race, Iron-Eating Beast, 9-Li Battle Beast. Attributes, Metal, Thunder. Race level, High-Level Overlord, Quasi-Mythical. Level of growth, Overlord. Super level, Inner Power, Perfect, Lightning Rod, Perfect, Space Quake, Perfect, Bin Soldier, Perfect, Impregnable, Perfect. Taught Skill. Super level, Undying Golden Body, Perfect, White Thunder, Perfect, Super Alloy, Transcendent. Normal energy points, 80,110,000. Terrifying attributes. One could imagine how solid 11's foundation was. Its energy was actually mostly thanks to the strength of its physique. At this moment, 11 was even a little unfamiliar with its body. The terrifying physical strength made it have a bold idea. Perhaps it could resist baby ginseng's self-destruction. Including a set of skills, it was definitely one of the best among top-notch overlords. Probably, apart from invincible overlords like the mutated Leviathan, there were very few 11's match at the overlord level. And this was only the beginning. Woo! 11 clenched its fists happily. The surrounding space seemed to tremble as the white lightning was clenched in its hand. Woo! It looked at the others with an excited expression and asked if its strength after breaking through was strong. Buggy, Baby Ginseng, Kai Tong, Susu, and the others looked envious. They also wanted to break through to Overlord. This was simply a qualitative change in strength. Relying on equipment, the time fruit, and other external forces was indeed a little lacking. Is it strong? You exchanged your beast tamer for that. 11. QAQ. Shiyu's face was pale as he said weakly. At this moment, the beast taming space had stabilized. He had successfully contracted an overlord above his level. Those beast tamers from the totem country could contract above their level, so could he. However, because of the contract connection with 11, Shiyu felt that his stamina was almost constantly flowing away. Its speed was very terrifying. It was ridiculous. Did it consume so much energy? He felt that it was impossible for other beast tamers to consume so much energy to contract above their level. Shiyu was originally very panicked, but he didn't panic for long. 11's breakthrough also gave Shiyu a large portion of its strength, allowing Shiyu's physique to reach an unprecedented height. It made Shiyu's physique, which had already reached the limit, break through the limit and obtain epic strengthening again. This strengthening was undoubtedly timely help, allowing Shiyu to quickly recover. However, his expression was a little weak. Everything was still within his tolerance. He took a deep breath of the sachet hanging on his neck and instantly felt revived. He felt that contracting above his level was nothing. That's it, Shiyu said. Another overlord won't be a problem. 11. Woo woo woo, Shiyu, are you all right? 11 looked at the pale Shiyu, afraid that it would break the beast tamer's brain. This didn't look like it was all right at all. Although it was indeed no different from normal. Ling, don't be arrogant. There's also evolution. Evolution. Shiyu nodded and also nodded at 11 in the distance, indicating that it could continue. With this hint, Baby Ginseng, Buggy, Kai Tong, Susu, and the others became even more serious. Hey, this was already ridiculous enough. If it used Transcendent Level Superalloy, multiple meteorite fragments, and second legendary resource, Aurora Magnetic Gold, to fuse and evolve next, would it be a little too terrifying? Before starting the evolution project, Buggy and the others were originally very calm, but at this moment, they suddenly had a bad feeling. Yes. 11 was extremely excited. It directly ate the meteorite fragment. There were a total of 10 meteorite fragments. In addition, 11 had already eaten a top-notch fragment previously. Shiyu didn't know where 11's upper limit was. Chapter 823 Evolution of God 11, 6. 823 Evolution of God 11, 6. However, he just had to eat it. The more it could eat, the higher the initial proficiency level of the demon god body. This was what Ji Mengzhu said. At this moment, meteorite fragments entered 11's body one after another. 11 felt especially good. 1, 2, 3. Initially, Shiyu and Susu were still wondering if they should use the sea cleansing spirit to relieve 11. But from the looks of it, for the current Overlord level 11 and the almost invincible Overlord level 11, controlling them was too simple. Soon, 11 ate 8 pieces in one go. At this moment, it finally felt a trace of pressure. Its expression was serious and solemn as it felt a dark deer thumping in its heart. After eating 8 pieces, including the previous one, it was 9 meteorite fragments. 11 finally felt the burden and the corrosion of the dark power. Can it still be eaten? Do you want the sea cleansing spirit to help? Woo! 11 nodded. Of course, it could be eaten, but there was no need to help. Its white lightning power could also suppress the power of the Yunnan demon god. Initially, Shiyu and 11 even said that they wanted to leave 2 pieces for Senior Panda and the beast-eared girl, but seeing that 11 didn't seem to have any limit, Shiyu didn't plan to keep them for the time being. He directly let 11 eat as much as possible. After 11 evolved, he and 11 would directly help the 2 seniors hunt Yunnan's main body. At that time, there would be enough fragments. Boom! 11 picked up the meteorite fragment and continued eating. At this moment, its body was already intertwined with white and black lightning. It was extremely magical. After eating, 11's aura reached an extremely terrifying level. It was as if a thunder demon god had descended into the world. The power of the demon god contained in the 11 meteorite fragments happened to allow 11 to reach the limit of its current state. At that moment, what excited 11 the most was the inscription that it couldn't carve after eating the meteorite fragment for the first time. This time, it could finally carve it. It stretched out its huge claws and began to carve dark inscriptions, planning to complete the evolution of the demon god. Today, 11 had used all the foundation it had accumulated in the past on itself. Come on! Shiyu was also extremely excited as he looked at 11 in front of him in anticipation. Black lightning and white lightning flowed all over its body. As it carved the evolution inscription, a black evolution light directly enveloped its entire body. During this process, its entire body was filled with black light. Information appeared in Shiyu's mind. Name Demon God Body. Attributes, Metal, Dark. Introduction: the body can automatically produce the power of the dark element Demon God. It can mobilize the power of the demon god to perfectly integrate into any metal element skill, increasing the effect of the skill in all aspects. Powerful skills often only needed simple effects. At this moment, 11 was gradually transforming into the demon god iron-eating beast in history. This was Emperor Wu's trump card battle pet, a super race that made Emperor Wu willing to nurture it as the strongest trump card. At this moment, the black evolution light spread. 11's figure slowly enlarged, and its energy level increased further. Soon, a new appearance appeared in front of Shiyu and the others. Zhongshen had once said that through the evolution of other inscriptions, the form of the body would not change. Only new racial skills would be added. Only through the evolution of the meteorite fragment would the form of the 9-Li battle beast undergo a huge change. At this moment, its form had indeed changed completely. The armor and body seemed to have fused into one, no longer in the form of an iron-eating beast wearing armor. At the same time, the color of the armor on its body completely changed from clearly silver and black to a mixture of white and gradually black. This color was like dark metal absorbing light, dazzling and mysterious. At this moment, the armor was very layered, like it was made of prismatic metal. On these metal armor, the white and black colors gradually changed, turning the normal state into a demon god iron-eating beast nearly 10 meters tall that emitted a terrifying demon god aura. Although he could still see the outline of the iron-eating beast's figure clearly, there was already a tight demon god armor on the outside. Pet name, 11. Attributes, Metal, Thunder, Dark. Race level, High-level Overlord, Quasi-mythical. Level of growth, Overlord. Energy points, 88,210,000. After the evolution of the demon god, 11's current attributes underwent another huge change. However, this wasn't the end at all. This form was only a transition. In the time it took Ling to take a photo, 11, who looked like a demon god, ate the second Aurora magnetic gold. 2 legendary resources. Ate them all. In addition to a pile of legendary level 8 resources, it was impossible for 11 not to be strong. Raw. As 11 ate the Aurora magnetic gold this time, it began to activate the power of superalloy. Its entire body was covered in hardened metal, and the hardened metal that had fused with the power of the white thunder metal began to fuse with the demon god's metal body. Woo! 11 roared with all its might. It was extremely excited. In the next moment, it was directly swallowed by the huge black and white interweaving lightning. Its entire body was extremely blurry. Superalloy, Fusion Super Evolution. At this moment, the form of the demon god iron-eating beast that had just evolved directly collapsed. Under the collision of light, darkness, and lightning, the demon god armor on Eleven's body kept disintegrating into energy essence that fused into Eleven's body. After the demon god armor disintegrated under the power of yin and yang, Eleven's new form was also revealed. It was a form that Shiyu and the others completely didn't expect. It was an ordinary iron-eating beast, but its body was a little taller and larger, a full 10 meters tall. Chapter 824, 824 Evolution of the 11 Gods, 7. 824 Evolution of the 11 Gods, 7. It was like an iron-eating beast in its enlarged state. Of course, the power formed by the light, darkness, and lightning disintegrating the armor fused into Eleven's body and assisted it in evolution again. It wasn't like there were no changes at all. At this moment, every clearly visible hair began to blur. The black hair was as blurry as a black electric arc, and the white hair was as blurry as a white electric arc, with electricity lingering all over its body. These electric arcs seemed to have become Eleven's hair. They kept floating like a chaotic ocean. It was like a huge beast walking out of the Chaos Lightning Sea, like the first Chaos Thunder God after the creation of the world. This power! In the distance, Shiyu could clearly sense endless energy fluctuations erupting from Eleven's form. It worked. It was definitely a success. Although the power of light lightning and the power of the demon god were extremely conflicting, the level of superalloy was maxed out by him. Helping Eleven control this power was definitely not a problem. Transcendent super skills could allow pets to reach the totem level. And now, it was only used for evolution. Under Shiyu's extremely expectant gaze. A shocking roar. Black and white lightning that shot into the sky erupted from Eleven's body like flames. The sky, the ground, and the natural environment directly changed again. In the ruins, it became a chaos world where yin and yang separated and light and darkness were born. Woo! In this area, the pressure of Buggy and the others reached the extreme. Their expressions were extremely solemn. This was the power of leader after evolution. Pet name, 11. Attributes, metal, thunder, light, dark. Level of growth, overlord. Energy points, 97,710,000. The current 11's normal energy level of the two legendary resources actually approached 100 million. It was already close to the tyrannical sea legend's pet even though it had just broken through. This shocking power simply excited Shiyu. However, what excited Shiyu the most was still this moment. Because of his contract connection with 11, Shiyu's mental talent directly changed. The new skill that 11 was about to awaken had a connection with him. As 11's light and darkness evolved, Shiyu entered a meditative state. His mind and 11 completely became one. Shiyu kept wandering in the sea of memories and experimented with his ideal telepathy talent again. In the dark world, he saw a painting carved on the stone wall. It was two black and white yin-yang fish wrapped around each other. Countless layers superimposed. Shiyu seemed to see the process of the universe going from infinity to Taiji to the transformation of all things. He saw the process of chaos splitting yin and yang, light and darkness not being born, and even splitting yin and yang. At this moment, 11 and Shiyu's minds were very clear. Shiyu was extremely shocked to discover that as 11 evolved, his telepathy talent, which had always been at a bottleneck, finally made progress. Shiyu slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, his eyes were like a spinning black and white Taiji painting. They were mysterious and extremely deep. His eyes were the window to the mind, reflecting the power of the mind. At this moment, as Shiyu changed, 11, who was in the evolution process, finally saw the same yin-yang Taiji painting as Shiyu. Shiyu had always wanted to share the magicalness of the Taiji painting discovered during archaeological exploration on Earth with 11, but unfortunately, he had never succeeded. However, at this moment, when 11 used the transcendent level superalloy and fused the power of light and darkness to complete its evolution, his compatibility with 11 seemed to have reached a point. Finally, they saw the divineness of this pattern at the same time. So, if you want to share these powers with pets, you have to let them have a certain compatibility with this divine power first, just like teaching skills. At this moment, Shiyu understood what to do next. If Buggy came into contact with the power of the starry sky, perhaps it could really imagine transforming into the green dragon. Boom! At this moment, a huge Taiji painting array appeared under 11 and Shiyu's feet. Lightning leaped on it, as if forming a lightning yin-yang domain that wrapped them inside. They also stood on it. Baby Ginseng and the others were extremely shocked, especially Ling. Buzz? At this moment, it was as if the legendary ruins had trembled, and an incomparably deep sound of worldly laws appeared. The spatial power and natural power in the space were all suppressed, and it was no different from the abnormality of the quasi-divine skill described by Senior Ji Mengzhu. Quasi-divine skill, Ling muttered. Moreover, it was quite powerful. It even felt that its strength was suppressed by 11's power. At the same time, further away from the legendary ruins, in the deeper second-team space, Little G, Ducky, and Chi raised their heads in shock and felt an indescribable pressure. Roar! Quack! Little G and Ducky roared softly. It wasn't the first time they felt this power, but this time, it seemed to be different from the last time. The pressure it gave them was even stronger. At the same time, outside the ruins, on the vast Ice Dragon Snow Mountain, millions of creatures crawled down in horror, not daring to look up. The shocking change could be said to have shocked Shiyu. The power of the Yunnan Demon God, the power of the Aurora Magnetic Gold White Thunder, and the Transcendent Superalloy. In addition, with his help through telepathy, 11 seemed to have comprehended a quasi-divine skill. Chapter 825, 825 Evolution of God 11, 8. 825 Evolution of God 11, 8. Roar! At this moment, the chaotic yin-yang lightning diagram formed was only the phenomenon of a skill. At this moment, the true quasi-divine skill was in 11's hand. In fact, this was just the combination skill Yin-Yang Jade that 11 had fused with White Thunder and Black Thunder through the superalloy previously. Condensing a metal and giving it the fusion of light, darkness, and lightning could cause huge destructive power. Ling speculated that this combination skill had extraordinary potential, but at this moment, no one expected that as it evolved, it would really upgrade into a new skill. It was even the prototype of a divine skill. At this moment, 11 seemed to have fallen into the chaos lightning and couldn't be seen clearly. On its palm, a circular metal formed. The metal was black and white, one yin and one yang, one light and one dark. It was filled with two-colored lightning that fused, converted, and collided. It was extremely mysterious. Everything around it seemed to have turned into chaos, disintegrating and being obliterated. At this moment, as the circular metal condensed and spun, Shiyu's expression immediately changed. 11, stop! Woo! Yi! Buggy, 11, and the others also sensed the terrifying change in 11. It felt extremely ridiculous. He didn't understand why 11 was so strong after evolution. At that moment, just seeing 11's figure made them feel that it was difficult to resist. After all, even when facing the black meteorite yak, the black goat, and the fox god, they didn't feel this way. Crack! As Shiyu spoke, the surrounding space had already begun to be obliterated, and cracks filled the sky. This was not an ordinary obliteration. What shocked Shiyu was that this legendary spatial ruin that could withstand totem-level attacks actually began to collapse, unstable as 11 condensed this skill. Name Yin-Yang Millstone. Attributes: light, dark, metal, thunder. Level: quasi-divine skill. Introduction: it contains the destructive law. It can obliterate everything by breaking down the balance of yin and yang. At this moment, Shiyu's heart was excited and complicated. Another quasi-divine skill. It was actually a divine skill that contained laws of destruction. Yin-Yang Millstone, obliterating everything? It could even obliterate other laws? In other words, 11 really evolved into a mythical race through this evolution? Just like Ling, it had become a divine beast cub of a mythical race. Woo! Shiyu was extremely pleasantly surprised, but suddenly, his eyes hurt and he was forced to close them. As for 11, although it had become incomparably powerful, it still listened to Shiyu's command and cancelled this skill. However, to be precise, it was suddenly a little difficult for 11 to control this power without the enhancement of Shiyu's telepathy. Its own strength, the strength of a beast tamer, and the combination of the two were the power of a complete quasi-divine skill, the Yin-Yang Millstone. This was the method of cultivating a quasi-divine skill that Emperor Wu mentioned by Ji Mengzhu. Among them, the Elven Empress of Tingxiang relied on this method. As a hybrid, she relied on the power of her pet to cultivate a quasi-divine skill, and Emperor Wu was actually still a little far from this step. However, this result was directly completed by level 6 beast tamer Shiyu. It wasn't a legendary, not a titled legend, or even an ordinary legend. Closing his eyes tightly, Shiyu was extremely excited. He tried his best to open them and look at 11. Sob 11, who was still impressive and domineering just now, only used half a move of the Yin-Yang Millstone, but the side effects were huge. From its incomparably tall and chaotic blurry form, it gradually restrained its strength and shrank, using the inner power and shrinking skill. Soon, its form returned to its original state. The black and white hair that should have been like a chaotic electric arc turned into normal hair, and its head returned to its cub form of more than a meter. However, compared to before, its blue eyes returned to pitch-black eyes. The color of the eyes was clearly black and white, like the yin-yang domain that contained endless power. On the other side, Shiyu sat on the ground with a weak expression. However, he was smiling. Name 11. Attributes: metal, thunder, light, dark. Race level: low-level mythical. Level of growth: overlord. Race skill: super level, inner power, perfect, lightning rod, perfect, space quake, perfect, bin soldier, perfect, impregnable, perfect, demon god body, perfect. Quasi-divine level skill: Yin-Yang Millstone, initiate. Taught skill: super level, undying golden body, perfect, white thunder, perfect, super alloy, transcendent. Normal energy points, 97,710,000. Invincible. Really invincible now, Shiyu muttered. Buggy, Baby Ginseng, Kai Tong, Susu, and Ling also felt so. They were covered in sweat and looked at 11 in surprise. Their breathing was very rapid and he had yet to recover from 11's shock. Oh shit, it was over. Regardless of how the team was doing, they would mourn for its opponent in the world competition for a minute first. With 11's current attributes, it might even be able to defeat the tyrannical sea legend's mutated Leviathan alone. It was invincible below the totem level. At this moment, Shiyu was originally worried that he would be a little unstable if he went to fight in the world competition, but now, he wasn't worried anymore. Who else was there? After sensing that his current beast-taming level was still far from level 7, Shiyu didn't have any extravagant hopes. He wanted to snatch the title of titled legend at the level of a master. Who else could match the quasi-divine skill of the invincible overlord, 11? Moreover, other pets weren't to be trifled with. After holding it in for 2 months, Shiyu was still angry and wanted to find someone to test his saber. Master Chujie? No, too weak. President Lin? The pets he contracted normally shouldn't have totems and were all overlords. Then 11 was also invincible in a one-on-one battle. No. He would be suspected of plotting to usurp the throne. Sky-penetrating whale, mutated Leviathan, Dragon Palace City's crown prince, and even the real totem gem cat and frost dragon? Shiyu's excited heart and trembling hands. It's one of those guys, then. Chapter 826 Undersea Prison. 826 Undersea Prison. At this moment, almost the entire team was circling 11 after breaking through. All of them were looking forward to it. It was mainly because 11 was too strong after breaking through. They were too envious. They hoped that he could be like this in the future. Normal monarchs used one method to break through to Overlord. 11, on the other hand, broke through with super skills, legendary resources, and the Overlord's will. In addition to its powerful racial foundation, it could be said to be strong after breaking through to Overlord. At this moment, 11 was actually not invincible. It could only be said to be a top-notch overlord among top-notch overlords. What really gave it invincibility was another level 9 legendary resource and 10 legendary level 8 meteorite fragments. Using these things to cooperate with transcendent level superalloy evolution, it was invincible. Ordinary totems didn't use as many resources as it did in their lifetime. 11 and Shiyu should be able to resist the weaker totems with all their might. At this moment, Shiyu finally stepped into the top battle power domain of Blue Planet in the true sense of the word. At the moment, 11 only had two forms. An ordinary restrained and shrunken panda cub form. The other form, the mythical form, was the giant panda form that looked like a chaotic lightning sea after evolution. Among them, the quasi-divine skill Yin-Yang Millstone and the super skill Inner Power could only be used in that form. It could be imagined that if the normal state could reach nearly 100 million, as long as enough natural lightning was stored in the body in advance, including the eruption of sharpness, it shouldn't be a problem for the energy to exceed 100 million. In addition to quasi-divine skills, normal totems might not necessarily be able to withstand it. However, unlike Ling, 11's mythical form consumed more energy than Ling's mythical form. At the same time, similar to Ling, its quasi-divine skill was also very difficult to control. It needed Shiyu's support to use it. Or rather, 11 couldn't master the entire mythical form very well. This suddenly made Shiyu understand why only totem-level demigods could master quasi-divine skills. Perhaps the divine beast cubs of the mythical race might indeed master quasi-divine skills, but it was not easy to control them alone. After all, it involved the power of the natural order. Thinking about it this way, Ling was right. They needed to enter the mythical Kirin form through mythical revival. If they wanted to perfectly control the power of a god, they indeed had a long way to go. Practice more. Try to adapt to the mythical form as soon as possible. Woo! 11 nodded excitedly. Generally speaking, for pets that had just evolved, it was indeed not easy to master new forms. Not to mention the super form of a mythical race. 11 probably had a long time it needed to adapt. 11 felt that it had only completed half of the evolution. Only when it really adapted to the mythical form could it be considered a complete divine evolution. At that time, even without Shiyu support, it should be able to master quasi-divine skills on its own. At that time, it would also be the so-called demigod-level battle power. What a pity! Everyone surrounded 11. Then, Shiyu felt that it was a pity. Because of this evolution, 11's armor was completely disintegrated by the Yin-Yang Millstone. Its two armor forms, the 9 Li armor and the Demon God armor, were directly gone. This made Shiyu a little confused. If he found the corresponding inscription metal again, could it still carve inscription skills? However, this pity only lasted for a while before Shiyu and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Through the regression effect of the time fruit, 11 could still return to the form of the 9 Li and the form of the Demon God armor. In that case, the problem was not big. However, these two forms no longer had much meaning compared to 11's current mythical form. Changing back was equivalent to weakening. With quasi-divine skills, those super skills were not especially attractive to Shiyu. In that case, he would leave it to fate. At the moment, the most important thing for Shiyu was to choose which opponent he wanted. In the era of Emperor Wu and the others, the iron-eating beast that evolved with the meteorite metal was called the Demon God Iron-Eating Beast. Then what should your racial name in the form of a mythical race be called? Shiyu touched his chin. Wu, 11 turned around casually. Beast Tamer, whatever. It was happy today. No matter how ugly the name was, it could accept it. Wu. In the end, Shiyu gave 11's new race the name, Chaos Panda, and directly abandoned the iron-eating beast. As for 11, it was as if it had encountered a bolt from the blue. Bear cat? It didn't understand why a bear like it had become a cat. Wu. 11 was furious. Then after Teacher Ying evolved, should it change its name to Gem Bear? The other pets were thinking about what this name meant. Could it be that Shiyu liked cats more than bears? Moreover, wonton bear cat? Did Shiyu like to eat wontons? Buggy, who was about to evolve, suddenly felt worried. As expected, the leader shouldn't have trusted Shiyu. It was afraid that Shiyu would give it the racial names of Dumpling Dragon, Bun Dragon, and Ramen Dragon. 11 sighed. Forget it, forget it. As long as Shiyu liked it. After everyone recovered from 11's evolution, Shiyu also started to draw lots. In the end, Shiyu drew the Frost Dragon name. Shiyu, 11 im. Is it not good? Shiyu said. Sob. Chaos Panda 11 nodded. The power of the Yin-Yang Millstone was definitely not weaker than the move that Teacher Ying used to instantly kill the green-scaled dragon. Shiyu and 11 couldn't say for sure what the outcome would be if this quasi-divine skill, which was enough to instantly kill a top-notch overlord, hit their own people. Chapter 827 Undersea Prison, 2 827 Undersea Prison, 2 Although Mother Dragon wasn't weak anymore and had finally relied on the totem-level advantage and legendary resources to train the Heavenly Frost cold energy to perfection, there was still a risk of serious injuries. Shiyu and 11 silently put the lot back and drew another one. They prayed in their hearts. Dragon Palace City Big Sun, Dragon Palace City Big Sun, Dragon Palace City Big Sun. Although he was very worried that 11 would end the life of this invincible golden dragon crown prince he had never met with a quasi-divine skill, it was fine as long as he didn't use a quasi-divine skill. As long as it could guarantee victory, it didn't matter if the opponent was a totem or an invincible overlord. Things didn't go according to plan. Shiyu and 11 looked at the new lot and fell into deep thought. Poison Dragon Totem. Why don't we use it? Shiyu said. Woo. 11 lay on Shiyu's shoulder and looked at the words Poison Dragon Totem on the poker card. It pondered for a moment and nodded. That worked too. The totem level was not an ally yet, and as the weakest totem, it was indeed very suitable to test strength. If he remembered correctly, it should be locked in the underwater prison of Dragon Palace City. The Poison Dragon Totem was mutated from the power of Yunan's radiation. It should be the weakest totem. This should be a totem that relied on resources to break through. However, resources were also divided into levels. For example, the legendary resources in Shiyu's hands were relatively ordinary legendary resources. As for the 9-element gem used by the Gem Cat, it should be the top existence among legendary resources. As for the meteorite radiation used by the Poison Dragon Totem, it was hard to say if it had touched the threshold of legendary resources. It could only be said that the Poison Dragon Totem was lucky and unlucky. It was lucky enough to become the totem level that countless transcendent life forms dreamed of, but because of this, his consciousness was corroded and he lost its mind. The only powerful thing about it might be the radiation poison that was comparable to Yunnan. Although it wasn't as domineering as Yunnan, even the Overlord Doctor of Dragon Palace City couldn't cleanse it. The immortal Dragon King had to take action. I wonder if 11's Yin-Yang Millstone can destroy the rules of Yunan's quasi-divine skill. Since Yunan's attack can't be cleansed and healed, can we destroy the power of laws left on the injured through destruction? Shiyu felt that it was hard to say for Yunnan, but there was definitely no problem with this Poison Dragon Totem. Shiyu gathered the entire team for a discussion and finally decided to take a look at the underwater prison in Dragon Palace City. I can help the Poison Dragon Totem cleanse the poison. With the strongest sea cleansing spirit Susu has created so far, it should be enough. If the Poison Dragon Totem is obedient and willing to be a little brother after purification, arrange for it to become the new Dragon King of Dragon Palace City and enter the Dragon God ruins. Let it get some legendary resources for us. If it's disobedient, continue to lock it up. Before the world competition, upgrade Kai Tong's undead revival to perfection. Then, kill the Poison Dragon Totem and turn it into an undead puppet. Shiyu's arrangements could strengthen the team again before the world competition no matter what. He immediately obtained the strong support of Buggy and Kai Tong. Amazing, amazing tilde. The two pets were pleasantly surprised and instantly looked forward to the Poison Dragon Totem. But before that, Shi Yu's face was pale. Baby ginseng, create a few more sachets. This doesn't seem to work anymore. Damn, the burden 11 brought after continuous evolution seemed to be even greater. The strength of the burden was completely greater than the attributes of the feedback. In this state, he didn't know if he could continue to add points happily. Even if it was meditation, it would probably be affected. Baby ginseng couldn't bear to look at it. It was better not to think about a second overlord above his level. It was more reliable to cultivate to level 7 as soon as possible. It was very afraid that it wouldn't be able to heal Shi Yu in the future, unless the second overlord was baby ginseng itself, of course. In short, prepare more sachets. Hurry! Because of 11's evolution, even through a space, most of the Ice Dragon Snow Mountain was almost paralyzed. Even the monarchs were so frightened that their legs went weak. Fortunately, Shi Yu had learned from Ling's evolution and didn't break through in the city. Otherwise, it would probably become one of the 10 great supernatural incidents of Dong Huang, making the country mistake it for a totem invasion. During the break, Shi Yu comforted Qi and the others a little to see if anything had happened to the second team. Fortunately, it was nothing serious. After confirming that everything was appropriate, Shi Yu set off directly. His destination was the underwater prison of Dragon Palace City. In fact, Shi Yu had long wanted to come to this place. The weakest prisoner here was also at the Overlord level. Even at the totem level like the Poison Dragon Totem, there was more than one imprisoned in the underwater prison. It could be said that both Dragon Palace City and Dong Huang had imprisoned some troublesome and valuable totems here. As for why they didn't kill them directly, it was because some prisoners were still useful to Dong Huang and Dragon Palace City. For example, if they caught Yunnan in the future, it would definitely be crippled and imprisoned somewhere. The metal fragments on its body were the stable evolution resources of the iron-eating beast. As long as it didn't die and they let it live on panting, it would always be a sustainable resource. The ones imprisoned in the underwater prison were basically the same. They were either ferocious beasts that wreaked havoc in the East Sea and Dong Huang, or the defeated parties in the last totem battle. At the same time, it was also a sustainable resource. Shi Yu had even thought about it. If Kai Tong's undead revival point reached transcendent in the future and it could enslave totem-level undead, he would directly come to the underwater prison to kill an almost useless totem. He would make do with it first. Chapter 828, 828 Undersea Prison, 3. 828 Undersea Prison, 3. In the sky where Dong Huang was flying to the underwater prison, Shi Yu stood on the wind immortal sword that Ling had transformed into. With his hands behind his back, he said with a thoughtful expression. The underwater prison is known as an iron wall. It's guarded by the Golden Dragon King of Dragon Palace City and reinforced by many generations of dragon gods. It's known that even demigods can't break through it. If we fight there, it shouldn't affect us much. On the other hand, fighting in the Dragon Palace Mystic Realm might cause a huge impact. Overall, it's indeed the Poison Dragon Totem that we should fight. In the deep-sea prison, the guardian was the Golden Dragon King of Dragon Palace City. In Dragon Palace City, there were a total of 3 top-notch totems, namely the Thunder Dragon King, the Space Dragon King, and the Golden Dragon King. The Sea Dragon King happened to be ranked in a neither high nor low position, in the middle of the original 7 Dragon Kings. Among them, the eldest prince, the 9-clawed Golden Dragon, was the son of the Golden Dragon King. The deep-sea prison was even lower than Dragon Palace City. To reach here, one had to first pass through the Dragon Palace Mystic Realm. Because of this, with the suppression of generations of Dragon Palace City, there was indeed no problem coming out from the deep-sea prison. After Shi Yu entered the ocean, he changed his transportation. Before heading to the underwater prison, he first arrived at the Dragon Palace Mystic Realm and found Mother Dragon. As the Minister of the Environmental Protection Department and an Honorary General of Dragon Palace City, Shi Yu naturally had the qualifications to enter the underwater prison. However, he was only qualified to enter. If he wanted to execute a prisoner, take a prisoner away, and release a prisoner, 3 or more Dragon Kings or the Dragon God had to nod. Shi Yu definitely couldn't do it alone. Therefore, before he went to find the poison dragon totem, he planned to issue the joint ruling of the Ice Dragon King and the others. After entering the Dragon Palace Mystic Realm, Shiyu naturally went very smoothly. He directly came to find Ice Dragon. "Kid, why are you here again?" In the Ice Dragon Palace, Ice Dragon gritted its teeth in anger. It didn't like Shiyu very much. It had finally been convinced by Shiyu to follow it to Tingxiang. It originally thought that Shiyu would bring it to crack a few ruins and obtain some treasures, but in the end, there was nothing. Shiyu only stayed for a few days before abducting a little elf and returning to the country, leaving it, a lonely old dragon, to preside over the exchange competition. Damn Shiyu! In the future, if it followed Shiyu out again, it would stop being a dragon. If it weren't for the fact that Lu Qingyi had given it a gift after the incident, Ice Dragon felt that it would have gone for nothing. "Mother Dragon, a good thing," Shiyu said. Wu 11, who was on Shiyu's shoulder, also said, "Good thing." Ooh? The Frost Dragon, which had shrunk to 2 meters tall and could communicate normally with Shiyu, suddenly looked at 11 on Shiyu's shoulder with a serious expression and was a little concerned. It looked at 11's black eyes, with a circle of white marks, and its heart skipped a beat. It actually felt a sense of danger. Generally speaking, relatively powerful overlords were a little sensitive to powerful lives, let alone Ice Dragon, who had participated in the totem battle. Although it was only a cooling mount for Mu Huiyin most of the time, Ice Dragon's knowledge was not weak at all. At this moment, the Frost Dragon actually sensed danger of the same level on this little iron-eating beast. What was going on? Why did the color of its eyes change back? Ice Dragon said. Ordinary iron-eating beast's eyes were indeed black, and Shiyu's had long turned blue because of the evolution of lightning and becoming a royal. And now, Ice Dragon realized that it had actually turned black again. And its aura has reached the Overlord level? Ice Dragon couldn't believe it. "You broke through to the legend level?" Shiyu smiled and said, No, I just let it break through to Overlord in advance." "Isn't the world competition about to begin?" "I thought that an Overlord in the team was more reliable. My physique is not bad, I can still take it." Because it broke through to Overlord and evolved again, its form changed a little. Ice Dragon was shocked and doubtful. It evolved again. Did it evolve with the meteorite fragment? No wonder the aura was so terrifying. Ice Dragon paused and was silent for a moment. It was really becoming more and more cowardly. Damn it, it actually cared about an Overlord, and it was an Overlord contracted by a level 6 telepathy beast tamer above its level. It cursed, "What good thing? Tell me quickly." Shiyu said, "My Susu has received the inheritance of the blue sea sprite and mastered the strongest cleansing skill, the sea cleansing spirit. I think the Currenta should be able to complete the cleansing of the poison dragon totem." Ooh? Ice Dragon was stunned. After purification, the poison dragon totem is a totem-level dragon element life form. It can enter the Dragon God ruins. At that time, it will take out 2 or 3 legendary resources and will split them. Don't you think it's a good thing? Nink. Susu also popped its head out of Shiyu's pocket. It expressed that it had already taken off. Ice Dragon was stunned. It leaned back strategically, its eyes serious and serious. Shiyu naturally couldn't take all of the poison dragon totem. After all, the poison dragon totem was captured by the Sea Dragon King and the Ice Dragon King together. Shiyu didn't want to take the majority. He just had to drink some soup. The meat was for these big shots to eat. "You brat," Ice Dragon's expression immediately returned to its doting smile. It stretched out its dragon claws and pointed at Shiyu. Although it didn't know why the monarch-level Susu had received the power of the sea that could only be inherited at the Overlord level, it didn't matter. Ice Dragon was instantly excited. It felt that it could at least obtain a legendary resource this time. It immediately found Shiyu pleasing to the eye again. "Not bad, not bad. I understand. I'll go find the Sea Dragon King and the others now." Ice Dragon roared. It also knew that dealing with the prison totem required the nod of the 3 Dragon Kings. "Don't worry, leave it to it. At that time, everyone would go together and be Shiyu's bodyguard. They would ensure that Shiyu would not be injured during the cleansing process. Chapter 829 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone. 829 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone. Soon, the Frost Dragon found the Sea Dragon King and the Immortal Dragon King. Of these two, one had arrested the Poison Dragon Totem with it, and the other had cleansed the injured in the entire Dragon Palace city. They were both Dragon Kings who played a key role in the Poison Dragon incident. At this moment, after the Sea Dragon King and the Immortal Dragon King learned that Susu had accepted the Blue Sea inheritance, they were also extremely shocked. At the same time, there was huge confusion and more confusion. Shiyu, are you sure that Lord Blue Sea Sprite has already accepted the inheritance? The Sea Dragon King looked at the water slime on Shiyu's shoulder and said with a doubtful expression. Why did it feel that Lord Blue Sea Sprite's reincarnation was still at the monarch level? It didn't feel that he had become stronger. Moreover, the various Dragon Kings expected that after the Blue Sea Sprite reincarnation accepted the inheritance, it should leave Shiyu. Why didn't either situation make sense now? Something happened, but it definitely accepted the inheritance. Shiyu smiled. The Immortal Dragon King was speechless. Was this a trick? Moreover, even Lord Blue Sea Sprite, the Sea Sprite Dragon Immortal Dragon King also had a puzzled expression. Monarch level. Even the Blue Sea Sprite couldn't be stronger than its own cleansing ability at the monarch level, right? It couldn't even cleanse the Poison Dragon Totem. After all, it had mastered a cleansing skill that had been developed to perfect proficiency, and it was at the totem level. Nink! Seeing that these Dragon Kings suspected it, Susu snorted and curled its lips. Wait and see. Don't worry. Shiyu smiled, reassuring the Dragon Kings. Not to mention that Susu was only at the monarch level now, even if it was only at the awakening level, as long as it had the Blue Sea contract and the Sea Cleansing Spirit, its cleansing power wouldn't be weak. The Blue Sea contract had infinite energy. Even demigods didn't have as much energy as it. The more ocean energy the Sea Cleansing Spirit provided, the stronger the cleansing power. In other words, the combination of these two skills had almost no upper limit to its cleansing power. Only time determined its cleansing power. The proficiency of these two skills and its growth level could only allow it to condense stronger cleansing power in a shorter period of time. At the moment, Susu had already condensed an extremely strong Sea Cleansing Spirit through the continuous creation of the Time Fruit and a month. The effect was even stronger than a transcendent cleansing skill. This Sea Cleansing Spirit was already comparable to a totem-level attack. If nothing went wrong, it was easy to brainwash an overlord. At the moment, in his team, probably only the Evolved 11 could resist the brainwashing of this Sea Cleansing Spirit. However, just like self-destruction, this move was also banned by Shiyu. After all, it was not easy to create one. It had to be used on the edge. For example, supporting points adding, cleansing the Poison Dragon Totem in exchange for resources, or saving it for the World Tournament. There was still a period of time before the World Tournament, enough to support Susu to create another similar one, so this could be used to cleanse the Poison Dragon Totem in exchange for other resources. In short, it's so confident. Let them give it a try. The Ice Dragon King couldn't wait anymore. It trusted Shiyu the most. Alright then, let's give it a try. In any case, with us around, the Poison Dragon Totem can't cause any trouble. When the Sea Dragon King and the Immortal Dragon King saw this, they didn't say anything else. They nodded and decided to go together. After all, the Poison Dragon was at the totem level and very dangerous. If Shiyu went to approach and cleanse it, he would probably be in danger without the protection of more than 2 totems. Who is it? A moment later, Shiyu and the others arrived at the deep-sea prison Mystic Realm below the Dragon Palace Mystic Realm. Shiyu stood on the huge water slime and turned into a slime knight. He came with the 3 Dragon Kings. At the entrance of the Mystic Realm, just as they arrived, a team of humanoid transcendent creatures appeared and stopped them. More than 10 humanoid creatures, the Sea Yaksha, were green like toad demons. They were all at the monarch level and held fork-type weapons. In the lead was a female sea yaksha. Her form was very different from the others, and her appearance was very sexy. Name: Yaksha King. Attributes: water. Race level: low level overlord. Level of growth: overlord. Energy points: 72,330,000. Minister Shiyu? There's also the Ice Dragon King, the Sea Dragon King, and Lord Immortal Dragon King? This yaksha with a fiery figure and a whip had pink scales on its waist, legs, wrists, chest, and face, but its appearance was still moving. Apart from the scales, the other party's greatest characteristics were the huge curved goat horns and sea snake-like hair. She was immediately surprised to see the big shots coming. The other ordinary yakshas were abnormally shocked. This was the first time they had seen so many big shots traveling together. Yinlin. Seeing the leader of this team of sea-protecting yakshas, the Sea Dragon King said, "We want to enter the underwater prison to see the poison dragon totem. Inform the Golden Dragon King." Shiyu, the Ice Dragon King, and the Immortal Dragon King smiled at her. Yaksha King Yinglin was the sister of the Yaksha General in Dragon Palace City. She was a top-notch overlord, one of the 4 guardian overlords of the underwater prison. "Yes, Lord Sea Dragon King." The leading female yaksha was stunned before nodding. In the depths of the underwater prison, the Golden Dragon King, who was in charge of guarding the underwater prison, slowly opened its golden-green eyes. Its body was strong, and golden scales covered its entire body. Its dragon claws were strong, and after it got up and flew in the sky, its insufferable dignity was revealed. Chapter 830, 830 Chaotic Panda and Yin-Yang Millstone, 2. 830 Chaotic Panda and Yin-Yang Millstone, 2. What are you doing? It leaped out and instantly circled outside the underwater prison, looking at the Dragon Kings in front of the cherry-scaled overlord that had summoned it. Among the original 7 Dragon Kings, the Golden Dragon King, the Space Dragon King, and the Thunder Dragon King were all cultivated by the Dragon God after she destroyed the previous Dragon God and her trusted aides. As for the Sea Dragon King and the Ice Dragon King, they naturally joined later. Therefore, even the Sea Dragon King greeted the Golden Dragon respectfully. "Big brother Golden Dragon, we're here this time to cleanse the poison dragon totem." The Golden Dragon King's gaze swept across the Sea Dragon King, the Immortal Dragon King, the Ice Dragon King, and Shiyu. "I thought you were here to find something to eat again." The last time the Sea Dragon King and the others came to the underwater prison, it was to eat the Vortex Demon Beast. This time, it thought that they were going to eat the new black goat. However, why did you bring him here? The Golden Dragon King looked at Shiyu. He knew Shiyu's identity, but this was the first time he had seen this so-called Minister of the Environmental Protection Department. The Immortal Dragon King said, "Because this time, Shiyu is the main force of cleansing. We're just bodyguards." "Oh?" The Golden Dragon King was stunned and looked at Shiyu, who nodded. "Lord Golden Dragon King, I wanted to come this time." "I understand. Then I'll bring you there." The poison dragon totem wasn't a difficult prisoner. With the 3 Dragon Kings leading the team, it couldn't cause any trouble. After the Golden Dragon King appeared, Shiyu and the others began to advance into the mystic realm under the lead of the Golden Dragon King. The underwater prison was a multi-level mystic realm. The deeper the spatial layer, the higher the spatial strength. As it was a special spatial mystic realm, in order to ensure spatial stability, all spatial skills were forbidden here. Therefore, Shiyu and the others could only slowly walk and fly. "Kid." The Golden Dragon King led the way and said, "Don't be afraid. Although the murderous aura here is a little stronger, they can't come out. We haven't even reached the 1st level and you're already like this. When we reach the 4th level, won't the aura of those totems scare you so much that you pee your pants?" "Shiyu, Senior Golden Dragon King, I'm not afraid." The Golden Dragon King chuckled. On its huge golden divine dragon body, its dragon eye said disdainfully, "Your face is pale from fright. Do you think I can't see it?" "Shiyu and Susu. I wasn't scared, White. My body is just a little weak." Shiyu was speechless. The Sea Dragon King and the others were not surprised. Although Shiyu looked even more weak today, he usually did this. The Ice Dragon King said, is only weakened because he contracted an overlord above its level in preparation for the world competition. This little battle array shouldn't be able to scare this kid. Oh? The Golden Dragon King was stunned. So that was the case. It said, a level 6 beast tamer contracted an overlord above his level. You guys are pretty hardworking for the world tournament. But from the looks of it, you can't. Although Dragon Palace City didn't participate, from the situation of the various totem countries, an overlord is at most an admission ticket. Overlords were only admission tickets. Top-notch overlords barely had the qualifications to fight. Only invincible overlords could really compete for the championship. Although Dragon Palace City didn't plan to participate in the world competition, the Golden Dragon King knew the situation of the world competition very well. In its opinion, even if Shiyu contracted an overlord above his level, he would only be crushed by an even stronger overlord. It was better to use the relationship with Dragon Palace City to cultivate well in the various mystic realms of the Dragon Palace. I know, but the world tournament has been held for so many years. It would be a pity to miss it, Shiyu said. That's true, but if you were born 5 years earlier and came to work for me for 5 years, you might have a place in the world tournament, the Golden Dragon King said. My good-for-nothing son only became so strong after training in the underwater prison for many years. After the world competition ends, I'll definitely come over to train for a period of time, Shiyu said. The space of the underwater prison was divided into 6 levels, corresponding to ordinary overlords, top-notch overlords, invincible overlords, quasi-totems, ordinary totems, top-notch totems, and totem half-gods. Among them, the Poison Dragon Totem, the Black Goat Totem, and the Vortex Totem were basically locked on the 4th level. It was said that even demigods couldn't break through the 4th level and above. The spatial strength was comparable to a mythical sealed ruins, and it was easy to lock totems. From the 5th level onwards, there were actually no prisoners. The ones imprisoned were basically the defeated top-notch totems in the last totem battle. At the moment, there was not a single life on the 6th level. The reason why Shiyu said that was because there were really many totems here. There were definitely many rare skills on him. After all, he had already reached the level of developing skills himself. He had to have some trump cards. Working in the underwater prison, the mission was not as simple as patrolling. Interrogating totems, dissecting totem materials, and suppressing totems were all extremely dangerous things. Under the arrangements of the Golden Dragon King, the eldest prince of Dragon Palace City had trained here for more than 10 years. It was the key for it to become an invincible overlord. After all, it had a bunch of ferocious overlords as sparring partners every day. In addition, it didn't lack resources. It was difficult not to be strong. Of course, if it were the little white dragon, it definitely wouldn't dare to come to such a place. Your mentality is not bad. Brother Sea Dragon, when will you send your little white dragon in too? The Golden Dragon King said. The Sea Dragon King sighed. Stop talking. That useless trash. It really regretted not encouraging Shiyu to contract the little white dragon back then. Chapter 831 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone, 3. 831 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone, 3. Roar. Wail. Let me out. At this moment, Shiyu and the others had already walked there. In the dark sewer-like passage, dark golden doors were on both sides. They were doors that led to independent mystic realm spaces. Behind the door, faint deterrents and roars could even be heard from time to time. Apart from that, Shiyu also noticed the number on the dark gold spatial door. 3-2. The front represented the number of levels, and the back represented the importance of the imprisoned creature on this level. The ceiling isn't very good, Shiyu said. Golden Dragon King. It's harmless. Soon, Shiyu and the others arrived at the 4th level. The 4 Dragon Kings came together in a huge formation. In the end, the Golden Dragon King stopped outside a huge dark gold door that was 100 meters tall. On it was written 4 to 10, which meant that the poison dragon totem was ranked 10th in danger or importance among the ordinary totems imprisoned in the underwater prison. This made Shiyu realize that there were probably at least 10 totems imprisoned in the underwater prison. Perhaps there were 20. "This is the place," the Golden Dragon King said. "Kid, be careful." Although the creatures imprisoned in the underwater prison can't mobilize natural energy here, their own strength is very difficult to restrict. It's also easy to kill overlords. For example, on this poison dragon, you also know that there's a terrifying poison radiation. Just dying it a little is enough to heavily injure an overlord. Apart from that, its physique far exceeds that of an overlord. Even without using transcendent power, it can crush ordinary overlords with its physical strength alone. With our protection, it's all right. Let's go in. Ice Dragon couldn't wait anymore. All right. Shiyu also nodded in anticipation. Shiyu and the 4 Dragon Kings entered together. Soon, they saw the environment of the prison mystic realm clearly. This place was incomparably huge and empty. The entire prison space was dark purple, and the sky was purple. There was no ground, only shallow seawater. Originally, the seawater here was cleansing water, but under the pollution of the poison dragon totem, it had already become black poisonous water. As for the poison dragon totem, it was in the center of the shallow sea. It stood there with its eyes closed. Its limbs were bound by huge chains, and it looked like it couldn't move. It was 100 meters tall and looked like a huge black dinosaur standing on 2 feet. It was impressive and domineering. Even though it was imprisoned, it still emitted the power of a totem. If an ordinary level 6 beast tamer came, just looking at it would probably make their hearts tremble. At this moment, after someone entered, it slowly opened its violent eyes. At the same time, it let out a shocking roar. The chain vibrated. The chains corroded by the poison also showed signs of falling off. Roar! A terrifying roar seemed to have turned into a hurricane, instantly making the black waves roll. The Golden Dragon King said solemnly, "It doesn't have any rationality at all. It will make such a fuss every time and only sleep for a while when it's exhausted. In its current state, it should have just rested well." It didn't matter if the totems wreaked havoc in the underwater prison mystic realm, because the spatial strength here was enough to suppress them. At the same time, the energy that erupted when they wreaked havoc would be actively absorbed by the underwater prison mystic realm to strengthen it. Therefore, this was a dead cycle. It's more troublesome to cleanse this state, right? Sea Dragon King, Immortal Dragon King, Ice Dragon King, how about we exhaust this guy together, the Golden Dragon King said. All right. Although the Dragon Kings didn't want to spend much effort looking at the poison dragon totem, Shiyu probably couldn't cleanse it directly. However, just as the 4 Dragon Kings were about to attack, Shiyu, who was standing on the huge water slime, licked his lips and said, "Seniors, this is very good. Let me do it." Ooh? Shiyu's words stunned the 4 Dragon Kings. They didn't understand what Shiyu meant. Shiyu said, "I have 2 cleansing plans. I want to give them a try." Apart from letting the Lord Blue Sea Sprite cleanse, what other cleansing plans are there? The Immortal Dragon King said. "Sabotage," Shiyu said. Who? The Sea Dragon King, the Ice Dragon King, the Immortal Dragon King, and the Golden Dragon King were stunned. What was this? I want to verify first if the poison radiation on its body can be obliterated through other methods apart from cleansing methods. This is very important. Let it maintain this energetic state first. If it was too weak, Shiyu was afraid that it couldn't withstand 11's attack. Yes, Shiyu wanted 11 to try and see if it could destroy the poison on this poison dragon totem through the yin-yang millstone. If even the poison radiation on this poison dragon totem couldn't be obliterated, then how could it resist Yunan's incurable injuries? It could be said that the poison dragon in this state was an excellent sparring partner to verify 11's battle power. What do you mean? The Dragon Kings had yet to react. Shiyu said, "That's right. I'll suppress it, consume it, and cleanse it alone. Seniors, you only need to protect me at the critical moment." "What nonsense are you talking about? Ice Dragon was stunned. At this moment, it couldn't understand what Shiyu was thinking. Roar! The monster that opened its eyes didn't have any rationality, but no matter how terrifying the few guys opposite it were, after condensing the energy that had naturally recovered in its body, it opened its huge mouth and a black and red ball of light that emitted strong heat instantly condensed in its mouth. Chapter 832 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone, 4. 832 Chaotic Panda and Yin Yang Millstone, 4. Buzz? At this moment, the terrifying energy tide made the expressions of the 4 Dragon Kings change. They knew that the Poison Dragon Totem had started to attack. The Sea Dragon King and the Frost Dragon were very familiar with this move. Its destructive power was very powerful. It could instantly destroy a town and raise a monstrous tsunami. At the same time, it also had the effect of poison radiation. It would be very uncomfortable to be hit. Even when they worked together to destroy the Poison Dragon Totem, they avoided this move. They didn't want to fight head-on, afraid that they would be infected with poison. Leave it to me. Believe me, Shiyu said. At the same time, a summoning array appeared on his shoulder. 11, who had just returned to the beast-taming space to rest and accumulate strength, was summoned by Shiyu. Under the purple summoning array, the Dragon Kings were stunned when they saw Shiyu summon his iron-eating beast. No way! This kid, Shiyu, really wanted to suppress and consume the Poison Dragon Totem alone. Purification with the power of destruction. What did it mean? They didn't understand. However, in the next moment, the expressions of the 4 Dragon Kings changed. Even the top-notch totem, the Golden Dragon King, revealed shocked expressions. An incomparably terrifying aura was emitted from Shiyu's body. Under the powerful fluctuations, Shiyu's eyes revealed a divine power. His eyes were like a spinning black and white Taiji painting, mysterious and extremely deep. At the same time, the huge black and white yin-yang diagram suddenly covered the ground of the entire prison space, forming a domain. In an instant, the entire prison space turned black and white. 11, who was on Shiyu's shoulder, had already leaped up and entered a mythical state under the enhancement of Shiyu's telepathy. Under the incredulous expressions of the 4 Dragon Kings, 11, who was less than half a meter tall just now, directly erupted with all its strength from its shrunken and restrained state. At this moment, light and darkness appeared on its body, and its body suddenly increased. In a short moment, in midair, it changed into a 10-meter-tall Chaos Panda form. In this state, its entire body was blurry, as if it had fallen into a chaotic lightning sea. The black hair was blurry like black electric arcs, and the white hair was blurry like a white electric arc. Yin and yang lightning lingered around its body. While still maintaining the appearance of the iron-eating beast, its form became extremely shocking, like the first Chaos Thunder god in the world. This power, at this moment, seeing 11 become like this, the 4 Dragon Kings were extremely shocked. Especially the Golden Dragon King, who actually sensed power that was not inferior to or even exceeded the invincible Overlord, the Golden Dragon Prince, on this pet. This was the Overlord Shiyu had contracted above his level? What a joke! Moreover, at this moment, in the prison space, 11, who seemed to have just split into yin and yang and turned into a very blurry figure, had a circular metal formed in his palm. The metal was also black and white, 1 yin and 1 yang, 1 light and 1 dark. It was filled with 2-colored lightning that fused, converted, and collided. It was extremely mysterious. Everything around him seemed to have turned into chaos, disintegrating and being obliterated. Buzz? At this moment, it was as if the prison mystic realm had trembled, and an incomparably deep sound of laws appeared. Under the sound of laws, the expressions of the 4 Dragon Kings became even more stunned, shocked, and unbelievable. Quasi-divine skill! The 4 Dragon Kings roared in disbelief. At that moment, even their bloodlines felt a pressure. Ice Dragon found it even more difficult to understand. It finally knew what the pressure it experienced on 11 was. Quasi-divine skill! How could Shiyu, this iron-eating beast, master a quasi-divine skill? At least, before it and Mu Huiyin left, Emperor Shi's pet didn't master this kind of thing. Shiyu? How was this possible? Let me see if the yin-yang millstone can obliterate everything. Shiyu's voice was like the sound of laws, enough to shake space. Roar! Shiyu and 11 erupted with all their might. Law power appeared in 11's palm. Then, a stream of air surged, and the yin-yang millstone completely formed. Then, under the enlargement, it became larger and larger, as if a millstone enveloped the entire sky. On the other side, the poison dragon totem's poison dragon hot breath had already been spat out, but under the incomparably terrifying suction of the yin-yang millstone, the hot breath instantly distorted. In mid-air, 11, who leaped into the sky and evolved, directly slapped the huge yin-yang millstone in its hand at the poison dragon totem. Boom! In an instant, the hot breath was completely swallowed and obliterated by this terrifying millstone. Then, the millstone crossed the void and descended on the poison dragon totem, constantly reversing and spinning. The poison dragon totem was like a bean on the millstone, and its entire body was instantly broken. The poison on its body was instantly obliterated, and the surrounding chains that bound it instantly turned into nothingness. Roar! The huge pain made the poison dragon totem let out a world-shaking scream. Then, dazzling light and darkness fluctuations bloomed where it came into contact with the millstone. White and black light instantly enveloped the sky and the ground. Then, with a boom, the huge poison dragon was deep in the explosion. The 100-meter-tall body it stood on was directly flipped over and fell backward, smashing into huge waves. After it fell to the ground, it instantly let out a miserable roar. A totem was directly heavily injured by this attack. However, at this moment, Shiyu said with a pale expression, "It seems to be really possible. This move can indeed obliterate poison, radiation, and all other substances. It's just too difficult to control. I don't dare to attack its mind and soul at all. I'm afraid I still have to let Suso undergo a more comprehensive cleansing. See, Nias, see? We can do it ourselves." Before the world competition, he had to perfect and familiarize himself with the yin-yang millstone and use it more. Otherwise, it would definitely not be convenient to use it when the time came. Woo! In mid-air, after succeeding in one hit, 11 returned to its restrained form. Seeing this, Susu let out a cry and shook its head, indicating that in terms of cleansing, it still had to rely on it. Physical cleansing was unreliable. It was easy to die. At this moment, Shiyu made a judgment, but it directly shattered the values of the 4 Dragon Kings. They widened their dragon eyes and looked at 11, who had returned to its mini-iron-eating beast form, in shock. F*CK, the Golden Dragon King's heart seemed to have exploded. This was the Overlord Shiyu contracted above his level? It looked at the broken body on the ground. There was no longer any poison on its body. Even the Immortal Dragon King and it were helpless when it came to cleansing. After the poison dragon totem that couldn't be cleansed turned into a clean and hygienic dragon totem, it was momentarily unable to accept it. The Sea Dragon King, the Ice Dragon King, and the Immortal Dragon King widened their eyes and looked at the poison dragon totem on the ground. For a moment, they didn't know what to think. It was just too difficult to control? It didn't dare to attack its mind and soul at all? It probably was better to let Susu cleanse it? Human language? He meant that he's afraid of attacking its spirit and soul and completely killing it. Even if the poison dragon totem was in a weakened state, this was still a totem. Don't casually say such terrifying words, all right. He was AF** King level 6 beast tamer. Quasi-divine skill. But soon, every totem dragon king sensed the real reason behind this series of terrifying phenomena in extreme shock. They were stunned. Shiyu's pet had actually cultivated a quasi-divine skill. The Golden Dragon King opened its mouth slightly. It couldn't understand why an Overlord-level life form could cultivate a quasi-divine skill. It also couldn't understand why an Overlord contracted by a level 6 beast tamer above its level was not inferior to the invincible Golden Dragon Crown Prince it had spent a lot of effort to nurture before erupting with a quasi-divine skill. When it recalled that it didn't recommend Shiyu to participate in the world competition previously, the Golden Dragon King was stunned. However, when it thought of how a level 6 beast tamer could compete for the championship in the world competition where top-notch overlords were everywhere, it was even more stunned. Great God, ancestral dragon above, who could tell it what was going on? What's going on? When the frost dragon saw that Shiyu had the strength to suppress the totem in one hit, it directly broke through its defense and looked at Shiyu and 11 with an explosive expression. Shiyu smiled and said, "Didn't I tell you?" 11 evolved a bit. This is the Chaos Panda form and its skill, Yin-Yang Millstone. Ice Dragon, you call this a bit? Chapter 833 Dragon Transformation Fruit. 833 Dragon Transformation Fruit. This was the first time the 4 Dragon Kings had seen such a ferocious overlord. It defeated the totem in one hit. This was a quasi-divine skill. Was this a mythical race? Chaos Panda. Yin-Yang Millstone. Although they couldn't understand, they felt that it was very impressive. The 4 Dragon Kings couldn't understand why Shiyu, a beast tamer with a telepathy talent, had evolved a mythical pet. Many Dragon Kings present knew the evolution legend, Lin Feng. The Sea Dragon King was even more certain that even Lin Feng had yet to evolve into a pet race with quasi-divine skills. The pets in the first team were basically only close to mythical races. In the Sea Dragon King's opinion, perhaps its beast tamer could definitely step into the mythical domain in the future. However, before Lin Feng disappeared, at Shiyu's age, it was definitely not that ridiculous. How did Shiyu do it? In the sky, 11, who had returned to its restrained state to recover its physical fitness, fell back with a worried expression and landed on Shiyu's shoulder. It and Shiyu were relatively worried. They felt that the power contained in the Yin-Yang Millstone was too profound. No matter what, they could only see the surface. Although it was powerful enough, it was more convenient to use low-level skills. Fortunately, the 4 Dragon Kings didn't know what Shiyu and 11 were thinking. Otherwise, they would definitely want to strangle them to death. Wah! Cough, cough. However, posturing was destined to have a price. After one move, Shiyu's brain and eyes instantly hurt, and his face turned even paler. 11 hurriedly patted Shiyu's back. Shiyu seemed to be seriously ill as he took a deep breath of the sachet on his neck. "What's wrong with you? Are you all right?" Ice Dragon immediately asked. Shiyu said, "It's all right. It's just that the move just now consumed more energy." Ice Dragon was stunned before remembering that 11 wasn't the only one who shocked them just now. There was also the divine power produced by Shiyu. At that moment, Shiyu's eyes changed patterns. The power emitted by the eyes was comparable to the pressure of a god. It also produced an extremely unbelievable power. Ice Dragon opened its mouth slightly. "Why are you also?" Shiyu said, "The conditions for this quasi-divine skill are relatively harsh. It's a skill that can only be used after I develop my telepathy talent a second time and enter a special state with 11. Therefore, the beast tamer himself has a certain consumption." "Stop talking." The Sea Dragon King's heart was bleeding. Damn, could these geniuses not develop their talents randomly? The telepathy talent was good telepathy. It could accept listening to history, but what was the meaning of supporting the use of quasi-divine skills now? When it recalled how it despised Shiyu because of telepathy back then, the Sea Dragon King regretted it. It felt sorry for its little white dragon. "But it's all right. Susu, I'll rely on you next." After Shiyu finished speaking, Susu reminded before everyone's attention turned to it. At this moment, Susu in the form of a water slime began to change its form. Water swirled down, and its body flickered, outlining a mermaid-like body. The water formed a beautiful blue long hair, bright blue eyes, beautiful appearance, and plump upper body. Its lower body was a blue fishtail that kept flowing like a wave. Its entire body was made of water, and it was considered a humanoid elemental life form. Its aura was incomparably noble, and it had an otherworldly aura. As it changed its form, the Sea Dragon King, the Immortal Dragon King, and the other lives that had always lived in the ocean felt an unreachable might again. Buzz! As if its soul had left its body, a blue sea cleansing spirit that looked similar to Susu's form directly left its body and flew into the sky. Then, a huge energy wave erupted. This sea cleansing spirit gradually enlarged and gradually grew. Soon, it expanded to 1,000 meters tall. It was majestic and spectacular. The holy cleansing aura on its body was even richer, and the energy fluctuations as deep as the ocean shocked the Sea Dragon King and the other pets. It was the monarch level again, displaying power that was enough to deter totem level. If 11's quasi-divine skill just now was of high skill quality, then this was high volume. This was the power of the combination skill of the blue sea sprite. This sea cleansing spirit was condensed by Susu in a month. In a unit of time, the energy it could erupt within an instant was indeed inferior to the totem level, but if time dragged on, its sea cleansing spirit would be extremely terrifying as a trump card. After condensing for a year, it could even be used as a killer move to threaten demigods. Ning. This sea cleansing spirit was like Susu's incarnation. As Susu looked at the poison dragon totem, the sea cleansing spirit stretched out its arm and directly grabbed the huge poison dragon totem in its palm. Its palm was like a monstrous tsunami that swept over, instantly devouring the poison dragon totem. In the next moment, a sizzling sound came from the poison dragon totem. White smoke that looked like ice mist spread from the huge water palm. Roar! The poison dragon totem let out a painful howl as if its mind and soul were being torn apart again. It was obvious how much pain the two cleansings had caused it. This was basically equivalent to stripping the poison attribute from its body. It wasn't that poison dragons couldn't be poisonous, but the poison of Yunnan was too strong. It couldn't adapt. Previously, it was only an overlord, so it couldn't bite off more than it could chew. Unbelievable, unbelievable. I can feel that the poison attributes on the poison dragon totem are gradually disappearing. Chapter 834, 834 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 2. 834 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 2. The immortal Dragon King felt that it was wrong, very wrong. It actually doubted the cleansing ability of the blue sea sprite. This was simply going to cleanse even its attributes. It looks like it can really succeed? The Sea Dragon King and the others were secretly shocked. It was really stronger than the immortal Dragon King's cleansing ability. As the strongest healing and cleansing dragon in Dragon Palace City, although the immortal Dragon King wasn't strong, its status in Dragon Palace City was extremely high. And now, the legendary blue sea sprite was clearly even more ridiculous. At the monarch level, it crushed the totem level dragon in terms of cleansing ability. In short, Shiyu was too terrifying. Looking at the blue sea sprite main body beside Shiyu and the Chaos Panda that had sent the poison dragon totem flying with a single hit, the Fur Dragon Kings momentarily didn't know how to evaluate this level 6 beast tamer. At this moment, the consciousness of the poison dragon totem was extremely blurry, but it was also extremely clear. It had originally lost its rationality, but as its poison element power was purified, its rationality gradually recovered. Memories that surged like spring water kept washing its brain. Countless memories gradually made the poison dragon totem understand the current situation. It was the dragon element overlord of the Rainbow Sea. It rose in a godforsaken place like the Rainbow Sea and stepped into the overlord domain with shocking aptitude. However, after staying in the Rainbow Islands to cultivate for decades, he thought that the small Rainbow Sea was no longer enough for him to break through the limit. With the thought that it would rather be a weak dragon than a strong lizard, it was determined to sail far and join Dragon Palace City. Unexpectedly, just as it set off, it was directly hit by two black-clothed humans and lost consciousness. It was forced to drink a mysterious poison. When it woke up, its body had already become poisonous. It gradually lost its rationality and fell into the huge power, becoming a slave to power. The poison dragon totem, which had escaped from the laboratory and wreaked havoc in the East Sea, mutated and broke through. It was suppressed by the joint efforts of the two totem-level dragons and gradually recovered its consciousness. When it recalled this, it was more and more shocked. He understood that it was very unlucky to have been captured by the evil human faction as a biological modification experimental subject. At the same time, it was very lucky to have obtained the potential to break through to the totem level during the modification process. However, what made the poison dragon totem's heart turn cold was that after it was lucky enough to escape from the other party, it actually still entered the sea area of Dragon Palace City and even caused a huge commotion. It was over? When it recalled being suppressed here by the two totem dragons, the poison dragon totem directly felt a lingering fear. Dragon Palace City was famous for being fierce. If it had caused a scene in that area, it would definitely have been killed by the generals of Dragon Palace City. What to do, what to do? Even if it was still alive, there was definitely a death threat. It didn't think that it had the ability to fight Dragon Palace City just because it had mutated into a totem. The memories were immediately suppressed in the underwater prison. When Shiyu and the others appeared, it was knocked to the ground by a pet controlled by a human beast tamer. Then, its strength gradually disappeared and it gradually regained its rationality. The eyes of the poison dragon totem began to become clear. Although its body was still in pain, it had already recovered its normal language ability and no longer only knew how to roar like before. Roar! Save me! Woo! I'm innocent. Don't kill me. This guy, at this moment, they clearly heard the voice of the poison dragon totem. The Golden Dragon King and the others understood that the poison dragon totem had completely recovered its consciousness at this moment and was no longer that crazy dragon that only knew how to attack in chaos. Under the continuous cleansing power, the huge figure of the sea cleansing spirit became dimmer and dimmer. Fortunately, 11 completed half of the cleansing work in advance. Otherwise, Susu's month of hard work would probably be gone. Now, it could at least support Shiyu to add points for a period of time. The sea cleansing spirit's expression was indifferent and unmoved. After cleansing the last trace of poison element power of the poison dragon totem, it directly threw it into the pool with a backhand and slowly disappeared. At this moment, not to mention the poison dragon totem, even the entire prison space had been cleansed by Susu. The polluted black water was extremely clear. Gulp! The poison dragon totem kept rolling in the pool, its mouth bubbling. It sat up in shock from its dying illness and widened its eyes as it sat up. It looked at the 4 dragon kings opposite it and the mysterious creatures that had almost killed it in one hit just now. Roar! Sirs, please spare me, please spare me. Listen to my explanation, I'm innocent. Its tail and limbs kept slapping, and water splashed. Its expression was panicked, afraid that the other party wouldn't listen to its explanation and would throw a few more skills. Shiyu and the others looked at the cleansed poison dragon totem in silence. For a moment, they were speechless. It was very cowardly. However, it was better. Don't be afraid, we're listening. Shiyu and the others looked at the poison dragon totem expressionlessly. In the next second, the poison dragon totem immediately spoke like a machine gun, ignoring the bleeding injuries on its body. Roar, roar. The poison dragon totem shed tears and complained about the Eviluan race, indicating that it was only a victim. Its respect for Dragon Palace City was like a surging river, endless. How could it invade the sea area of Dragon Palace City for no reason? But you've already invaded, the Sea Dragon King said. Golden Dragon King, according to the laws of Dragon Palace City, how should such a life be dealt with? Chapter 835 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 3. 835 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 3. Golden Dragon King, if there's no value, kill it directly. If there's value, deal with it and imprison it for life. Now that it has been cleansed, the dragon meat, dragon scales, dragon skin, and dragon blood dragon tendons on its body are all good things. It's not a bad choice to directly take them off. After all, it's a totem-level dragon body. Roar! No, don't! The poison dragon totem's expression was stunned, and its heart exploded. It was as if it had encountered a bolt from the blue and found it difficult to accept. No, no. It was really very innocent. There's no need to be so ruthless, right? It does seem to be a victim. Why don't we give it a chance? Shiyu said. Roar!
Yes, yes.
At this moment, the poison dragon was stunned, as if it had caught a life-saving straw. It looked at Shiyu for help and fear. It understood that this human was also an expert and could easily kill him. He was also grateful to Shiyu and understood that it was the other party who had recovered his rationality. Minister Shiyu, what do you think? The Golden Dragon King said. Shiyu said, let it redeem itself and join the Environmental Protection Department to make up for the losses it created. There was no law in Dragon Palace City. The law was the Dragon God and the Totem Dragon Kings. At this moment, the Dragon Kings and Shiyu were playing good cop and bad cop respectively, directly allowing the poison dragon totem to find a chance to live. Its expression instantly froze and it roared. Roar, roar, roar. It expressed its willingness to join Dragon Palace City and offer everything it had to Dragon Palace City. If it didn't want any benefits, it would work for Dragon Palace City in its next life. Shiyu and the others had been waiting for this sentence. The 4 Dragon Kings and Shiyu looked at each other. Sure. Shiyu placed his hands behind his back and flew in the air with his psychic power. He looked at the poison dragon totem calmly and said, on account of your sincere repentance and strength, I'll give you a chance to be a dragon again. However, if you don't perform well. The poison dragon totem revealed a frightened expression. It understood that Shiyu really had the ability to kill it. After all, its current strength was even weaker than when it first mutated. At this moment, the powerful poison attributes on his body had already been cleansed, leaving only its totem-level body and inadequate cultivation. It didn't match the dragon element power of its current realm. Roar! Lord, don't worry. I eat little, work fast, and am super diligent. The poison dragon totem stood up and patted its chest as it guaranteed. The dragon god didn't care how to arrange the poison dragon totem at all. Shiyu and the others started to arrange it randomly. The world was huge, and the benefits were the greatest. No matter what, the poison dragon totem was already at the totem level. With the ability to optimize races and skills, after cultivating hard, it would definitely be another totem-level battle power. Compared to directly dissecting it, it was indeed better to let it atone for its crimes. Moreover, if it could enter the Dragon God ruins and take out some resources, at least 2 or 3 legendary resources, everyone would get a share. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Shiyu and the others didn't immediately deal with the poison dragon totem. Instead, they continued to let it reflect in prison. As for Shiyu and the others, they must have quickly come out to discuss the distribution of benefits. After shaking off the golden dragon, Shiyu and the others chuckled, especially Shiyu and Ice Dragon. It laughed the most. They really were family after all. Fortunately, the gem cat wasn't around. Otherwise, the 3 of them would have laughed together. Seniors, look, the cleansing is successful. Moreover, it was unexpectedly smooth. The poison dragon totem didn't resist the whole time. Even after waking up, the desire to submit is very strong. Shiyu said, according to its description and what we understand, the culprit is indeed the Yun race and the Ku Yuan financial group. It's also innocent. After nurturing it, it's basically not a problem for Dragon Palace City to have a new totem-level general. The Sea Dragon King, the Ice Dragon King, and the other dragons nodded. At that time, if it's recognized to enter the Dragon God ruins and reward everyone with the newbie rewards in the Dragon God ruins, that would be even better. That's right. The Ice Dragon King was about to drool. Ever since it was extorted by Shiyu for a legendary resource, it really wanted a second one. When the time comes, everyone will split it equally. Ice Dragon said. I should be part of it, right? Shiyu was filled with anticipation. The Sea Dragon and Ice Dragon laughed. Of course. After all, the Poison Dragon was cleansed by Shiyu. Of course. If it can enter the Dragon God ruins in the future, you should at least have a legendary resource. All right, the Sea Dragon King said. Although Shiyu was a junior, the Sea Dragon King had already treated Shiyu as a life form of the same level. Putting aside the fact that Shiyu would become a totem-level undead after his death, just Shiyu's current battle power was enough to fight ordinary totems. If Shiyu was given a little more time, it would probably be impressive. He. At this moment, Shiyu was a little embarrassed. He scratched his head shyly and looked at the Sea Dragon King, the Ice Dragon King, and the Immortal Dragon King. Seniors, what about not giving me the benefits that the Poison Dragon Totem might bring into the Dragon God ruins in the future? You guys can split it. The 3 Totem Dragon Kings were stunned. Ice Dragon was even more stunned. Would Shiyu give up the benefits? Impossible, definitely impossible. It refused to believe it. In its state, it definitely won't be able to enter the Dragon God ruins in the short term. Why don't you guys crowdfund a legendary resource for me to use first, Senior? At that time, I won't participate in the division of the resources. You guys split it. How about that? The 3 Dragon Kings? Chapter 836, 836 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 4. 836 Dragon Transformation Fruit, 4. It's mainly because the World Tournament is too dangerous. If I can obtain a legendary level resource in advance, my team's strength can increase greatly. At that time, it can also be safer. The 3 Dragon Kings? The World Tournament was too dangerous. As Shiyu said this, the 3 Dragon Kings recalled the scene of Iron-Eating Beast 11 crushing the totem-level Poison Dragon with a slap in prison. Its face darkened. Are you sure? He wanted to participate in the world competition of the Overlord level. The opponents were all beast tamers under the age of 30. Not a totem battle. Was he sure that with his battle power, he would be in danger instead of killing everyone randomly? As long as it didn't court death, even if the opponent was at the totem level, was it willing to provoke this brat? What kind of resource do you want? The Sea Dragon King hesitated and said. You can tell me, the Immortal Dragon King also said. The Frost Dragon widened its eyes. They were crazy. They really listened to him. Ice Dragon felt that Shiyu would definitely take 2 portions when the time came. If he wanted them this time, he would come and split the resources again. Shiyu had previously promised it to fly with it after becoming a legendary beast tamer. There was no guarantee at all. These were clearly empty promises. During the trip to Tingxiang, it had already seen through Shiyu. In fact, it was not surprising that the Sea Dragon King and the Immortal Dragon King were willing to listen, because the potential Shiyu displayed was too terrifying. After evolving a mythical pet and contracting the blue sea sprite, the Sea Dragon King even wanted to let the little white dragon cultivate with Shiyu's second team. It wasn't a loss, because Shiyu looked like he was clearly destined to become a legendary. Giving resources now was all for the sake of obtaining more returns in the future. Moreover, it wasn't much of a sacrifice. Didn't Shiyu say that it was just an advance payment? Shiyu said, legendary resources of dragon and wood element life forms. Or legendary resources of water and ice. Dragon element, wood element life form? Water element, ice element? The Sea Dragon King and the others were stunned. Shiyu naturally asked about the legendary resources of Dragon Palace City for Buggy and Susu. He might not necessarily be able to find legendary resources from other departments here. But if it was dragon and water, it would definitely be foolproof. Water and ice elements were naturally compatible with Susu. Susu only had 1 cold sky drop, and the little wallet could no longer keep up. Which pet in the team wasn't more generous than it? Of course, the inheritance of its previous life, the Blue Sea Ruins, was definitely not included. Otherwise, Susu would be the richest. As for dragon and wood element life-type resources, they were definitely for Buggy. As for why it was wood element and not spiritual, spatial, or even bug element, it was because the Dragon of Imagination skill was about to reach perfect level. A perfect level Dragon of Imagination could evolve into a dragon. A transcendent level Dragon of Imagination could surpass dragons and walk its own path. Dao proficiency. Who knew? In the beginning, Shiyu and Buggy thought of combining the merits of the many half-gods of Dragon Palace City and the Dragon God statue to evolve into perfect dragons. But later on, the bigger the heart, the bigger the dream. Shiyu wanted Buggy to give it a try and directly use the four-spirit green dragon of heaven as a template to undergo subsequent evolution. Its power of imagination creation, together with the green dragon mural phenomenon in Shiyu's memory, in addition to dragon element, wood element legendary resources, and the power of the starry sky, might work. From 11, Shiyu understood that no matter what the channel was, if he wanted to cultivate any special skills, he still needed compatibility. As for water element, I don't have it here, the Sea Dragon King said. But for wood element, I can think of one, the Sea Dragon King said. However, this is the common property of Dragon Palace City. It's used to reward members who have made huge contributions to Dragon Palace City. Dragon element, wood element, life-type legendary resource. The Dragon Transformation Fruit on the Dragon Transformation Fruit tree can allow pets with non-dragon bloodlines to obtain dragon element power. Back then, General Sky Penetrating Whale obtained the dragon element power because of the reward of the Dragon Transformation Fruit. If it's used by dragon-type pets, the life race will be stronger. It's considered a strengthening and evolution resource. This kind of fruit only bears one fruit every 100 years. It needs to be nourished by the dragon vein. It's very rare. More than half of the totem dragon kings need to nod before it can be distributed. Shiyu, what do you think? If it's this, we can help you apply. With your contribution, it's enough. After the poison dragon totem enters the dragon god ruins, we'll calculate it separately. You can still split with us, the Sea Dragon King said generously, making Ice Dragon beside it make a I told you so's face. There was even no need for Shiyu to mention it himself. This guy could receive 2 sets. It was envious. Dragon Transformation Fruit? Shiyu was stunned. Dragon Transformation Fruit? What else could it be? It was it. Whether Buggy could evolve into a green dragon depended on this fruit. At this moment, Shiyu had actually been considering whether he should contract a second overlord above his level before the world competition. He had 2 ideas. The first was to let baby ginseng break through. This way, the nourishing effect he obtained would be good. It might not be impossible for him to withstand the burden brought by the 2 overlords, but it was easy for the beast taming space to collapse. The other was Buggy's breakthrough. As a spatial pet, Buggy could receive feedback from strengthening the beast taming space after it evolved and broke through. There was a high chance that it would allow Shiyu's beast taming space to break through. However, these weren't too stable. If Buggy's evolution and breakthrough didn't lead Shiyu to break through, the burden could also directly kill Shiyu. Therefore, Shiyu had never made a decision. After all, he had yet to feel anything that could pose a threat to 11. It was not easy to choose. Chapter 837 Spirit Taiji Domain. 837 Spirit Taiji Domain. Dragon Palace City. Shiyu didn't wait long before the Dragon Transformation Fruit was sent over. The so-called public assets of Dragon Palace City that could only be distributed with the agreement of more than half of the Dragon Kings. Shiyu felt that it was not difficult at all. The Sea Dragon King and his wife took 2 votes, and Ice Dragon took another vote. That was 3 votes. As they were going to distribute it to Shiyu, the other Dragon Kings wouldn't have any objections. After all, at the moment, Shiyu was a popular person beside the Dragon God. Apart from that, Shiyu had also purified a totem battle power for Dragon Palace City. It should be credited to the Environmental Protection Department. Therefore, it was not difficult to obtain the Dragon Transformation Fruit. Mother Dragon, are you going or not? At this moment, with the resources in hand, Shiyu was already prepared to leave Dragon Palace City. However, before leaving, Shiyu invited the Frost Dragon to the world competition again to help him. Let's talk about it later. Ice Dragon was annoyed. It wanted to go but didn't want to. Inatella sounded very dangerous. When the time came, totems would definitely be everywhere. There would even be demigods. It didn't believe that nothing would happen to the 7 countries and the totem country. But if it didn't go, it would be worried and curious about Kai Tong's situation. All right, Shiyu said helplessly. Then I'll leave first. Go first, the Frost Dragon said without any reluctance. After Shiyu left, the Frost Dragon looked at the place where Shiyu left in silence. A mythical race had evolved. As expected of its beast tamer, she really knew how to choose people. Although it wasn't good to ask for a level 6 beast tamer like this, Ice Dragon hoped that Shiyu could win the world competition. It would be a pity to miss such an invincible achievement. Sigh, if only she was still here. It missed Mu Huiyin a little and wanted her to see how it looked after breaking through to the totem level. This 1,000-year-old dragon sighed in the deep dragon palace. Without the people they interacted with day and night beside them, they couldn't feel energetic doing anything. After Shiyu came out of Dragon Palace City, he felt that nothing big had happened recently. There was less than a month left until the World Tournament. Soon, the Dong Huang team should set off for Rongguang. The contestants of the World Tournament of the 7 countries would gather in Rongguang. If he remembered correctly, tomorrow, the 10 contestants of Dong Huang's World Tournament would still have a meeting in the capital regarding the World Tournament. As 7th in the sequence, he also received an invitation. Shiyu didn't care much about this. What concerned him was that the 7 countries seemed to be holding an archaeological conference at Rongguang. Archaeological conference, 2 mythical resources, a pile of legendary resources. Shiyu had long told President Lin their research results, which was the conclusion that the reason for the extinction of Blue Planet's mythical era was an extraterrestrial faction, to let him prepare in advance. President Lin was naturally very gratified that Shiyu could obtain useful information from the Kirin beast. However, this information really made the ruler's balls hurt and he fell silent. Ordinary people might not have to care about any world-destroying crisis at all, but as the leader of a country's beast tamers, Lin Xiao had to take it seriously. At this moment, Shiyu was conflicted about another problem. Although he had told President Lin about the gains of the Kirin dream illusion, no one in Dong Huang knew that the Wind Kirin had already advanced to a mythical race. Just like how the racial levels of other fossil phantom beasts would decrease after reviving, when the Kirin phantom first revived, it wasn't a mythical race either. It all relied on the subsequent mythical revival skills to increase. Should he greet President Lin? After all, if he used a quasi-divine skill in the World Tournament, regardless of whether he could win the championship, he would definitely become the target of all factions' attention. He would even receive greater attention than the championship. The first champion of the World Tournament, Lin Feng of Dong Huang, the second champion, a certain beast tamer from Shui Yuan, and the third champion, a certain beast tamer from Shenfeng, didn't have mythical pets. However, Shiyu was relatively relieved that the Dragon God and the Elven Empress had both expressed that they would watch the world competition and let Shiyu perform at ease without any worries. I wonder if the mechanical legendary will awaken in the World Tournament, Shiyu pondered. Shiyu swam and flew before finally returning to Dong Huang. His destination was to go straight to the capital and wait for the meeting tomorrow. He planned to stay in the ruined space for the night. The next morning, after resting fully, Shiyu got Buggy to teleport him to the headquarters of the Imperial Capital Association. Legend Ju. Outside the association headquarters, Shiyu drank the milk tea made by Baby Ginseng for breakfast and walked straight into the association. In the past, it might have been fine not to eat breakfast, but recently, his health had been poor. He had to nourish himself as much as possible. Just as he arrived at the door, Shiyu heard the respectful greetings of the 2 guards. He looked in front and saw a familiar fatty who had just come over to prepare to enter. "Thank you for your work." Sequence 6, Ju Ming nodded, making the 2 guards smile. However, they were immediately stunned. They looked behind Ju Ming and immediately said, "Dr. Shiyu." "Dr. Shiyu?" Ju Ming also suddenly turned around and realized that a young man holding a milk tea was walking behind with a sleepy expression. Ju Ming. Sequence 7, number 1 person below legend, Shiyu. Ju Ming had even challenged Shiyu, but he was ignored by Shiyu. At this moment, this was the first time Ju Ming had seen Shiyu in person. He was speechless when he saw Shiyu's tired and sleepy look. Why was this spirit like the students from the high school next door? He didn't look like a young man at all. He didn't have any vitality at all. Chapter 838, 838 Spirit Taiji Domain, 2. 838 Spirit Taiji Domain, 2. Good morning. Shiyu also greeted simply before looking at Zhu Ming. Legend Zhu Ming? It's me. Zhu Ming chuckled and said, nice to meet you, Dr. Shiyu. I've heard so much about you. Same. Shiyu was immediately amused. Wasn't this that unlucky guy? Originally, he was third in the initial ranking. In the end, as Zheng Hai and Lu Qingyi broke through, along with the noble son, legend Jiang Chuanyang, who spent money to cultivate, Zhu Ming was directly beaten to 6th place. He was in pain from the loss of resources. Therefore, Shiyu didn't have to care about his challenge at all. When the settlement ended, he would fall down himself. Dr. Shiyu, let's go in. Zhu Ming sighed in his heart. He looked at Shiyu and his troubled brother who was in the same boat. He and Shiyu were so miserable. Initially, they were all in the top 5 of the sequence, but who knew that the guys behind were so beastly? They immediately squeezed them down. In an instant, Zhu Ming felt a sense of appreciation for Shiyu. Legend, and the number 1 person below legendary. Although they were glorious, who else knew the pain of missing legendary resources? All right. Shiyu and Zhu Ming entered the association building together and arrived at the conference room of the higher-ups. At this moment, there were quite a lot of people here. 8 of the top 10 of the sequence had already arrived. Shiyu and the others were the last to arrive. First in the sequence was the legendary beast tamer, Yi Xing, who was wearing a military uniform and had sharp eyebrows and starry eyes. He was the grandson of the titled general of Donghuang, commanding the current strongest monarch-level army of Donghuang, the Star Army. Second in the sequence, he was wearing a white ancient suit with an elegant aura. There was a divine bell that never left his side with a sword. As a descendant of the mechanical legendary Shen Yuan, this person was extremely mysterious. Third in the sequence, the leader of the Heavenly Ji group, the legend noble son, Jiang Chuanyang, was wearing a formal suit. He smiled as he looked at Shiyu and the others who entered. The Chenji group was born from the Talent Group and Century Group, 2 of the 5 major financial groups of Donghuang. Jiang Chuanyang's parents were the core figures of the 2 major financial groups. Sequence 4, Tyrannical Sea Legend Disciple, Zheng Hai. Sequence 5, Lu Qingyi from an archaeological family. There was also Sequence 8, Bureau 10's Ji Feng, Sequence 9, Zhu Yun, the Heavenly King Zhu, and Sequence 10, Bureau 4's Jiao Xian. In addition, the Sequence 7 Shiyu who had just entered and the Sequence 6 mutated fusion talent, Legend Zhu Ming, were all present. There were a total of 6 legends and 4 top-notch masters who could defeat overlords. Compared to the only 2 legendary contestants of the 7 Islands and Tingxiang, this lineup could be said to be extremely luxurious. When Zhu Ming entered, no one felt anything. However, when Shiyu arrived, many people's moods began to change. In order to rest more, Shiyu woke up almost at the same time, unwilling to waste any rest. Therefore, just as he arrived, President Lin, the organizer of this meeting, arrived. Everyone, sit. After President Lin arrived, he nodded at everyone and sat at the innermost seat. The sequence ranking has already ended for a period of time. I summoned you here this time to do the final mobilization of the World Tournament. Everyone nodded. President Lin said, I roughly have 2 things to say. Firstly, you have to know that the world competition is a stage where individuals compete. On the surface, there's only one champion for honor. In the world competition, every one of you will be opponents. But in fact, many contestants aren't going for the honor of the champion, but to obtain a certain amount of opportunities in the mythical ruins of Inatella. What I want to say is that regardless of whether it's to fight for the champion or the opportunity, you're all from Donghuang after all. In the World Tournament, you'll be a whole. If the rules allow, you have to help each other. Otherwise, it's very difficult to survive in this chaotic world competition alone. In addition, there's a deeper meaning to this world competition. Apart from participating normally, Lu Qingyi and Shiyu, the 2 archaeologists, have the important mission of exploring the ruins. They will be your first protection targets. In addition, there's a deeper meaning to this world competition. Apart from participating normally, Lu Qingyi and Shi Yu, the two archaeologists, have the important mission of exploring the ruins. They will be your first protection targets. Ji Feng, Zhu Yun, and Jiao Xian looked at Shi Yu in silence and were a little envious. Everyone was at level 6, but Shi Yu had a bunch of legendary bodyguards. However, they also understood that the two archaeologists, Lu and Shu, might be the key to them obtaining a huge opportunity in Inatella. Other countries with rich foundations should have similar configurations. 1 or 2 main combatants went to fight for the championship position. The rest surrounded the important archaeologists to harvest opportunities in the ruins. As long as there were gains, it was not a loss. If the gains were small, they would stop while they were ahead. If the gains were relatively large, they might be able to break through on the spot and join the team fighting for the championship. The second thing is the final sprint. You still have about half a month to prepare. You should have more or less digested the resource reward for the sequence ranking, right? In the final stage, each of you can also apply for the final resources from the Dong Huang Association. As long as you have a reasonable reason to explain the need to do this, even if it's another legendary resource, we can distribute it. Chapter 839 Spirit Taiji Domain 3 839 Spirit Taiji Domain 3 Apart from that, let the National Guardian assist in the special training and enter the Cultivation Ruins Mystic Realm. Any request can be made. The association will try their best to satisfy it. If anyone has any corresponding thoughts, contact me after the meeting. Alright, it's your question segment now. You can ask any questions about the World Tournament now, President Lin said to everyone. President Lin, the rules of the World Competition haven't been confirmed? Jiang Tianyang asked. President Lin said, just like in the past, it will be decided by the World Tree after Inatella opens. No one will know in advance. However, you can use the rules of the previous batches as a reference. Of course, the rules of the first 3 batches are different. It might also change this time, but there's a high chance that it will still be related to ruins and battles. After all, this is the common point of the first 3 batches. Ji Feng said, President Lin, when are you going to give us the information on the contestants from the various participating countries? As expected of a member of the Intelligence Bureau, he knew the importance of information. I heard that there might be totems in this world competition? President Lin said, there's indeed such a possibility. The beast-taming talent is strange. For example, Legend Yin's spatial strengthening talent. If it's cultivated to level 8, it's possible to contract a totem. If you consider the speciality of the hybrid physique, if beast tamers and contracted creatures have the same bloodline, even if it's a legendary beast tamer, it's not impossible to contract totems above their level. Therefore, you have to be mentally prepared. This situation has never appeared in the first 3 world competitions. Those totem countries are far crazier than the traditional beast tamers of the 7 countries. As for the information you mentioned, I'll give it to you after the meeting, but just take a look at this kind of thing. Don't treat it as key information. Everyone asked their own questions. Shi Yu listened the whole time. The more he listened, the more sleepy he became, as if he was going to internet class in the morning. So sleepy. After an unknown period of time, the meeting finally ended. Before the meeting ended, Shi Yu was instantly energetic. After coming out, he immediately ran to Lu Qingyi and said, Senior, how's your psychic training? Lu Qingyi smiled and said, it's at the passing level. It definitely can't compare to yours, but it can definitely kill everyone in the world competition. Here. She handed the talent bead back to Shi Yu and said, there's still half a month. Can we make it? There's time. Shi Yu smiled. In the last half a month, Shi Yu decided to continue perfecting his telepathy talent. This had to be done with the talent bead. Apart from that, Shi Yu also planned to help 11 adapt to his new body through the talent bead. Therefore, he asked for the talent bead that he had temporarily handed to his senior to cultivate psychic power. Now, Lu Qingyi's strength should be far from the level of 5th place in the sequence. a legendary resource in the natural ruins of Tingxiang, and a legendary resource rewarded by the sequence ranking. After using them, she gained a new Overlord pet. 3 Overlords. In addition to the psychic strengthening skill, Xiyu felt that Senior Lu's current battle power, excluding him, should be able to steadily rank in the top 3 of this batch of contestants. It was only inferior to Yixing and Divine Bell. As for these two, Senior Lu definitely couldn't compare. After all, before there was any news of their world tournament, there were already 2 overlords in their teams. At the moment, even if they weren't all overlords, they were probably not much different. For their identities, there were clearly more channels to obtain legendary resources. Of course, it was definitely not as fast as Xiyu obtaining legendary resources. In Shiyu's hands, Buggy had 2 legendary resources. Baby Ginseng had 1, Kai Tong had 2, and Susu had 1. This was even after using a lot of their resources. Unfortunately, due to the limitations of his level, Xiyu could only look at the resources and cry. He couldn't let them spend as generously as 11. For the world competition nearly a month later, Xiyu went into seclusion again to perfect 11's incomplete mythical form. Apart from Xiyu and 11, the other pets were also cultivating hard to welcome the next world competition. After all, Xiyu had told them that whether they could have quasi-divine skills and how many quasi-divine skills they could have depended on whether they could win the world competition. After winning the championship and obtaining the blessings of the World Tree, once the skill fusion function was activated, it was easy to talk about how many quasi-divine skills they wanted. Xiyu felt that the mythical stage should also be divided into levels. Just like Overlord races, those with 2 super skills were low-level Overlords, and those with 3 were middle-level Overlords. In theory, it should be the same among mythical races. 1 divine skill was a low-level mythical race, and 2 meant it was middle-level mythical races. In that case, Xiyu naturally had to pile 11 and the others' race levels above high-level mythical races through the number of skills. Skill fusion was the key. A week later, Ping Cheng, Legendary Ruin Space. Xiyu stood on the ground and looked at 11 opposite him in silence. On the other side was a huge iron-eating beast 10 meters tall, no different from ordinary iron-eating beasts. However, Xiyu understood that this was not as simple as 11 enlarging to this size. The body control talent bead was more valuable than he imagined. Initially, Xiyu thought that 11 could only gradually optimize its race and adapt to mythical race after reaching the totem level. However, he didn't expect that with the help of their bodies to control the talent bead, they only used a week to completely stabilize their mythical form. At this moment, even after 11 entered the mythical normal state, its strength was completely restrained. It was no different from an ordinary panda. No one could tell if it was strong or weak. The form surrounded by the Chaos Lightning Sea was completely controlled. Even at this moment, 11 could still control whether the white lightning or black lightning lingered on its body. Its control over power was much stronger than when it first evolved. Woo! In addition, 11 even used the yin-yang millstone in its hand without Shiyu's help. It condensed in its hand, and the entire legendary ruin buzzed and trembled again. However, in terms of power, it was much weaker than when it had Xiyu support. This time, there was no risk of the ruins collapsing. Turned A, woo! Giant 11 looked at Xiyu excitedly. Was it invincible? 11 had been conflicted. What if the quasi-divine skill needed Xiyu support and couldn't be used in the team competition? But now, it felt that the future versions might all belong to it. The problem now is, am I still human? Xiyu scratched his head. After 11 completely controlled its body of a low-level mythical race, Xiyu could clearly sense that he had received physical and mental feedback again. He was silent for a moment before activating the telepathy talent. No, now, Xiyu had already given the second development of the telepathy talent skill another name, Psychic Domain. At this moment, the yin-yang millstone in 11's hand had already disappeared, but Shiyu's eyes still turned black and white. As a sound of laws vibrated, Xiyu himself conjured a Taiji domain that enveloped a huge area. In the black and white world, the ground and sky were both a yin-yang Taiji painting. Among them, the Taiji painting spun crazily. The black and white yin-yang fish in the pattern even materialized and swam around 11. Woo! At this moment, 11 felt that the power of light, darkness, and yin and yang in its body had been strengthened by an epic level. 11 waved its hands, and the yin-yang fish also swam like it was in the sea, making 11 feel especially interested. Just as it was about to touch the yin-yang fish, with a crack, the Taiji domain shattered like a mirror. On the other side, Shiyu's face was pale. Damn, had his telepathy ability also been upgraded to a quasi-divine skill? There was the sound of laws no matter what. Psychic domain, Taiji domain, could produce corresponding rules and strengthen 11's quasi-divine skill. In fact, without doing anything, the Taiji domain could suppress all the power in the domain. This change made Shiyu's balls hurt a little. He felt that it was the mythical resource, the undying fruit, again. Forget it. Shiyu ignored these changes and continued cultivating. When it was half a month before setting off for Rongguang, the gazes of the Seven Nation Alliance looked at Inatella. Chapter 840 Mechanical Legendary Awakening. 840 Mechanical Legendary Awakening. Pingcheng. Legendary Ruins. A white research institute was wrapped in a starry sky. Recently, Ling had been studying the strength of the starry sky hard. The power of the starry sky was a vast school of learning. Basically, people called the power system outside Blue Planet the power of the starry sky. Including the power of the sun and the power of the moonlight, they were all the power of the starry sky. Therefore, the power system of the entire Blue Planet was definitely like a drop in the ocean compared to the power of the starry sky. Therefore, it was especially difficult to study. However, be it hatching the space beast egg or the evolution of Buggy, it seemed to be inseparable from the power of the starry sky. Shiyu and the others could only spend effort to open new projects. For this, Shiyu even handed the symbol star formation to Buggy and the others, not letting go of any channels to study the power of the starry sky. After some research, Shiyu and the others' greatest gain was that the effect of the purple strange water ball summoned in Tingxiang gradually became clearer. This thing was actually a growth resource. It could devour other strange water that contained the power of the starry sky and grow on its own. The upper limit of growth was legendary, but the premise was to devour enough cosmic strange water. After that, using this purple strange water ball could obtain more effects. For example, if it swallowed the strange water that strengthened the power of water and light, then after using it, its effect was also to strengthen the power of water and light. It was a resource that could fuse and magnify the effect of the strange water. At the same time, after using it, the user and the power of the starry sky would be more amiable. Fortunately, the ball of cosmic strange water Shiyu and the others had obtained had already swallowed enough cosmic strange water before descending. It was not far from its upper limit, the legendary level. Otherwise, its phenomenon at that time wouldn't have been so obvious. However, although they had figured out what this purple strange water ball was, Shiyu and the others still didn't know if it was the nutritional substance needed by the space beast egg. Even Ling had yet to develop anything. It probably had to go to Rongguang to take a look at the final power of starlight to confirm. However, this didn't matter. Shiyu didn't plan to give this purple strange water to the space beast egg. Love wouldn't disappear, but it would transfer. Even if it was really the nutrition needed by the space beast egg, it had to be first come, first served. He planned to let Buggy use this purple strange water ball. A long time ago, in order to help Anchang's dragon carp evolve, baby Ginseng and Buggy had jointly made a dragon transformation fruit. Of course, although it had the same name as the dragon transformation fruit of Dragon Palace City, this was definitely not a legendary resource. At this moment, Shiyu really had the legendary resource, the dragon transformation fruit. It was a dual-element evolution resource for dragons and wood, representing life force. Therefore, Shiyu was wondering if he could use the space-mutated water and the dragon transformation fruit as evolution resources to assist the evolution of Buggy. Among them, the legendary starry sky strange water was in charge of increasing the cosmic affinity of Buggy. Its all-encompassing nature could also increase the power of Buggy's imagination. In addition to the green dragon phenomenon hidden in the depths of his spiritual soul, he could give it a try. These days, Susa's mission was to constantly summon the strange water and help the starry sky strange water complete the final upgrade. Ling's mission was to constantly analyze and study it. In the end, Ling came to a conclusion. It could allow Buggy to break through and evolve before the world competition. It was the conclusion it came to after combining Shiyu's physique, level with Buggy and baby Ginseng. Before the world competition, he could try to break through with a second overlord and contract 2 overlords above his level. After its strict calculations and consideration of various situations, the feedback of the spatial attribute after the worm evolved could 100% let Shiyu bear the price of contracting 2 overlords. Even if it couldn't break through to level 7, the strengthened beast taming space wouldn't have the risk of collapsing. At the same time, the feedback of his mental strength could also allow Shiyu to better resist the consumption. Of course, it could only be Buggy breaking through. If baby Ginseng broke through, with only the feedback of vitality and recovery power, although Shiyu could also better withstand the contract above his level, the beast taming space definitely couldn't withstand it. Therefore, Ling's suggestion was to let Buggy evolve and break through. Then, in the last period of time, in terms of adding points, it would mainly increase baby Ginseng's plant control to increase its nourishing effect. Therefore, in the last half a month, Shiyu and the others studied the evolution of Buggy. Since Ling had said that there was no problem, Shiyu was naturally willing to have another overlord before the world competition. It was already very impressive for a level 6 beast tamer in a totem country to contract an overlord above his level. On his side, he wanted to contract 2 overlords above his level as a level 6 beast tamer. It was simply more exploitative than the totem country. In order to win more steadily and confidently, Shiyu endured it. Am I a humanoid ferocious beast? However, the final problem was that there was no suitable breakthrough environment. Ling believed that if possible, it was best to evolve in the starry sky. Coupled with the power of imagination of Buggy, it could ensure that it matched the green dragon form to the greatest extent after evolution. The evolution environment was also an evolution resource. Evolution in the starry sky? Ling would make things difficult for Shiyu. Even if their current strength was extraordinary, they didn't have the ability to break out of Blue Planet. However, Shiyu didn't have it himself, but Dong Huang did. Shiyu quickly thought of Dong Huang's spaceship and rocket. Decades ago, Dong Huang had already succeeded in exploring the moon and obtained the ability to reach the starry sky.